fees and ending injuries. There's the necessary kind, like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama, like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply STOP to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her?
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge?
Got to get this all straightened out. Give a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! Is now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend?
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is you over 30 years ago.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
And this is your mom when you drive her back from therapy.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
Roles change without us noticing, and in your new role, we help you help. AARP gives you the information to help care for your mom so that you can have patience with her, just like she did with you. Visit aarp.org/caregiving or call 1-877-333-5885 to get practical health and wellness tips to provide even better care for your loved one.
Are we there yet?
Remember, visit aarp.org/caregiving. AARP, we help you help. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
When I was little, I didn't talk for a long time. I liked things to always be the same. Anything new or different would scare and upset me. I was very sensitive to lights and sounds. It was almost like I had bigger eyes and ears than everyone else. So I built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. I didn't like looking people in the eye. It made me feel uncomfortable. I'd throw big tantrums over little things like when my socks didn't match. Sometimes I'd do the same things over and over. Until one day, I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
You can see signs of autism in children as young as 18 months. Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Do current market conditions have you nervous? Our experienced team of financial professionals at Heritage Harbor Financial Associates understands that no two investors are alike. We all have different goals, needs, and appetites for risk. That's why the one-size-fits-all approach does not work, especially when planning for retirement. At Heritage Harbor Financial Associates, we analyze your unique investment style so that you can work toward your individual retirement goals on your terms. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates can help you take steps to reach your retirement goals by providing a wide array of financial products to fit your needs, even for the risk adverse. Give us a call at 631-331-6599 to learn more or to set up an appointment with one of our financial professionals. You can also find us on the web at hhfa.org or on Facebook at facebook.com/hhfa.org. Our number again is 631-331-6599. That's 631-331-6599. Investments in stock, bonds, and mutual funds and variable annuities are not FDIC insured and are subject to fluctuation in value and market risk, including loss of principal. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates offers securities through AXA Advisors LLC, New York, New York. Member FINRA, SIPC. Annuity and insurance products offered through AXA Network LLC.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor, and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit them online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
Be fearless at MMA Long Island and Seituha Karate. Located at 28 Colt Court in Ronkonkoma, MMA Long Island is the martial arts school for you if you want to learn combat-proven techniques, build confidence, discipline, and self-esteem while learning real martial arts to fight back against bullies, predators, and peer pressure. MMA Long Island offers group and private lessons for all ages and levels in traditional Goju-Ryu Karate, MMA, and self-defense. MMA Long Island is one of Long Island's most affordable martial arts schools. There are no promotion, belt, or membership fees, and family discounts are available. All classes are taught by 7th degree black belt Sensei John Benedict with over 30 years teaching experience. So whether you want to get in the ring or protect yourself and your family, MMA Long Island can help you reach your goals. Visit MMALongIsland.com. That's MMALongIsland.com, or call or text 516-381-9660. That's 516-381-9660.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next-door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Okay, Simon, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. And what do people normally wear?
Clothes.
Exactly. So now Mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Clothes keep us warm, they look good, and if we go out without them, the neighbors will talk. So it's important to know how to get dressed. Here's how it's done. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. If you're wearing a tie, it goes over, round, round, through, and pull tight. Tuck your shirt into your pants and zip up your fly. Socks going first, then shoes right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears.
I love bunnies.
Good to know. Now remember, spots don't go with stripes, socks don't go with sandals, and if you've tucked in your shirt, wear a belt. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
So you see, son, good manners are very, very important. Someday, many years from now, when you're a grown-up, you'll be a man. And when you are, You should be a gentleman. Do you want me to go through it one more time?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Exactly. Always say please, thank you, you're welcome, and excuse me. Sit up straight, hold doors open for ladies. If a door's shut, then knock first. Don't burp, don't swear, don't speak with your mouth full, don't reach across people's plates, keep your elbows off the table.
What table?
And don't interrupt. While we're at it, don't stare, don't use foul language, don't call people names, but do remember people's names. Always share your toys, play nice, and cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. On the bus, give up your seat to anyone who has trouble standing. Bottom line, treat others the way you'd like to be treated. Got it?
Got it.
And stop picking your nose.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
Number 70!
We're talking about practice.
Hello, you play to win the game.
The Yankees are champions of baseball.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
3, 2, 1, happy 2000! No time on the clock, and the Patriots have won Super Bowl 36. Jordan open, Chicago with the lead. Worldwide Sports Radio Network presents Below the Mark.
Hello, Long Island, New York, and around the country. This is Below the Mic. We are live every single Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. New York Eastern Time. Remember, you can call us at 631-965-4990. And guys, if you haven't watched the show before, well, you have to do this. You can go to our website. How do you do that? You go to www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Download the app, ladies and gentlemen. How do you do that? Well, if I haven't said this over and over again, I wouldn't be repeating myself. So I'll continue doing that until somebody out there remembers. And what do? Well, it's simple. All you got to do is go to iOS, WWSRN, or you can go to Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Anyways, we have a great show lined up for you guys. We have a lot to talk about in sports. The New York Knicks are playing good basketball. Stephen A. Smith sure thinks so, too. I'm surprised. We will get into his thoughts and our thoughts of the New York Knicks. We're also going to talk about baseball. I mean, we're going to try to talk about baseball. There's nothing to talk about. So, but obviously, hockey practices have started. So the season's, a week and a half away?
Exactly a week.
A week away. So the Islanders, who have no Matthew Barzal, where we're going to be very interested to see if they actually sign him before the season starts. I'm getting scared about that, but who knows what's going to happen with the good old New York Islanders. And we're going to get into the Rangers and the Rangers conversation because we have a great guest. We will be talking to owner of Forever Blue Shirts and Daily Goal Horn Anthony Scultore. So I got it. So Speedy writes this thing out, and I don't understand. We're going to be talking to owner of Forever Blue Shirts. That sounds much more easier than reading all this garbage out of the way. But anyways, I'm very happy to be here. And before we get into what we do every single week and every single Wednesday. Mm-hmm. And what do we call that? Sports and entertainment. Yeah, well, I'm going to cut you off. Speedy, how are you?
I've been all right. Just been busy working on station stuff and helping out my grandparents with some stuff since they got home, moving some furniture around, cleaning up after the holidays for them.
Well, it seems like Speedy has such a fun life. Let me tell you guys. Speedy, who loves hanging out with his grandparents. He plays cards. He plays chess. Whatever he plays with his grandparents.
No, I've not played chess with them.
Oh, I'm surprised. I mean, You've done everything else. Uno, Crazy Eights, next thing, Jim Rummy, whatever. So let's get into sports and entertainment news. These two teams could trade for Francisco Lindor. Well, obviously, everybody knows about the New York Mets with all the capability that they have, with the money that they have right now with Stephen Cohen. They can absolutely make a move for Francisco Lindor. And you can thank Brody Van Wagenen with the great drafts he's had the last 2 seasons. They can absolutely land Francisco Lindor, but they're going to have to trade away all their farm system. And the Blue Jays, who have one of the best farm systems in baseball. Damian Lillard pushing Blazers to trade for Draymond Green. Speedy?
That would be quite an interesting rivalry if that ends up being the case, because we've seen the Warriors and Blazers play, I think, 3 different times in the playoffs already, and that would definitely bring some tension, especially with the way Draymond has been with his former Warrior teammates, aka Kevin Durant.
Dame Dollar wants a green, baby. Anyways, that sounded pretty good. Dame Dollar wants some green. Anyways, LA Angels are interested in Cubs Wilson Contreras. I am not surprised. The Cubs want everybody. I'm sorry, not the Cubs. The LA teams want everything. If it's not the Dodgers, it's the Angels. And obviously, Wilson Contreras is one of the most underrated catchers in baseball. So that's a good move, Speedy.
Reuniting with his former manager and Joe Madden, possibly, too.
Absolutely. NFL rumors and news. The Texan players lobbied against signing Earl Thomas to contract. Well, I'm not surprised about that. Everything that you heard about Earl Thomas, he likes to hit women and get himself into trouble on and off the field. I don't think Earl Thomas is ever going to play on an NFL football field ever again. 3 reasons why the New York Jets can still steal Trevor Lawrence. Are we still at this? Are we still going to go back and forth? Trevor Lawrence is going number 1 no matter what. Unless Day goes, and everybody knows Ohio State Buckeyes coach Day decides to come to the NFL with the Jacksonville Jaguars. That is the only way Justin Fields goes number 1. Deshaun Watson appears to react negatively to the Texans' hire of Patriots executive Nick Cassaro as the next GM. What do you think about that, Speedy?
It's very interesting because, again, we've seen the Patriots between the coaches and their coordinators poached for different teams. Now, the Texans are a weird fit for that kind of thing, being they don't have a lot of draft picks. So I feel like that kind of rebuilding system could be a bit strange. I think they should just try to go all new school all at once. But again, who knows? I mean, those kinds of things have worked for the coaches recently when it previously wasn't.
Bears quarterback Mitchell Trubisky, who?
Your boy.
Desiring to be the next Drew Brees, Speedy?
Yeah, okay. Good luck with that.
Yeah, everybody's got a dream. I mean, that's a dream. A dream that maybe will never come true.
Maybe. That's even a bit of a stretch.
NBA rumors and news. Should the Cavs trade for Marvin Bagley?
Ooh, maybe. Why not? I mean, he has had some trouble with the Kings. The Kings have had some trouble this year. They could be able to sell high, or the Cavs might be able to buy low on him this year. I would be worth a shot. And all their big men are older right now.
Marc Gasol resentment led to Serge Ibaka's split with the Raptors. That is a very interesting story. Nobody knew there was tension between these two guys. We all thought they were friends. They just played the first game of the season against each other for the LA Clippers and the LA Lakers, and they really didn't talk to each other.
Yeah, we only thought of Gasol. The only tension we knew about with him was with David Fizdale. We never knew of any of it with the players. Ibaka's always been that kind of a fiery guy, so that maybe wasn't as surprising, but it seemed like Toronto, being they were mostly a younger team, they really didn't have those kinds of issues there.
MLB rumors. The Yankees set to trade for Padres outfielder Greg Allen.
All right, defensive specialist. That's really all you're getting out of him.
Why? I'm surprised they're going to bring him in. What are they going to do? Yeah. Are they deciding to part ways with Gardner? That's what it sounds like.
Maybe Aaron Hicks. Maybe they're looking to move too. I don't know.
No, Aaron Hicks is the center fielder. Reds acquire righty Art Warren from the Rangers. Speedy.
Bolstering up the bullpen that's already been pretty good last year. They just traded Raisel Iglesias for whatever reason, so maybe they're trying to go quantity here. I don't know what kind of role he'll serve, but probably versatility.
NHL rumors. The Bruins, Tuukka Rask speaks out, opens up on the leaving bubble. I mean, everybody heard about his family situation. I think it had a lot to do with the bubble and his family not being there. That's what I think. So, after 5 years, how does Connor McDavid stack up against NHL's greats? What do you think, Speedy?
He's had 300-point seasons already, which, again, is very hard to do in today's game, and that's a big deal when it comes to stacking up with the greats. Obviously, it's 3 years and a lot of injuries already, one big injury. So, again, not there yet, but if there's anyone that's on that pace, it's him.
Nashville Predators, and the last thing, Nashville Predators signed Luke Kunin to a 2-year deal worth about $2.3 million. What do you think, Steve?
Depth pieces. Again, Nashville traded a lot in order to get some veterans that haven't worked out, so they're trying to replenish those younger, like fourth-line type, third-line type players. So not a bad trade. Again, they're still having to rebuild a lot of that depth. We saw that get exposed against the Coyotes of all teams in the playoffs last year, even though I think that was still more coaching. John Hines, I don't know what is going on with that. Nashville, but again, they could bounce back. Who knows?
And that's it, ladies and gentlemen, for sports and entertainment news. It is an interesting week and weekend in sports. We have the NFL, ladies and gentlemen, the NFL right around the corner. And I'm talking about the playoffs. What everybody looks forward to. NFL playoffs. You talk about there's no Jets, there's no Giants. We've heard enough all week about Joe Judge speaking out on the Philadelphia Eagles and Peterson. I think the backlash of what the NFL is all about now. It's all about screwing teams. And I do believe the New York Giants got screwed, but at the end of everything, Joe Judge should really look at the last 3 games, or really the last 5 games of the season. They lost 3 games. They should have won at least 1 or 2 games, and maybe they wouldn't be worrying about that situation. Right. So it's very, very unfortunate when you think about the Giants not making the playoffs.
Yeah, also there's no guarantee Jalen Hurts wins that game anyway, just because he's the better quarterback.
Oh, they should have had it. First of all, they should have kicked the field goal.
Yes, that I agree.
It would have been 17-17. It made no sense on the way they were playing that. Right. It didn't make any sense. But I really want to get back into the New York Jets, because this morning, I didn't listen to sports radio this morning. I've been taking care of family stuff. My mom is very, very sick in the hospital. So I've been dealing with a lot of stuff going on in my family life, but I didn't get a chance to listen to Boomer and Gio. But my illust crazy friend, and everybody knows him as the Beeve, reached out to me today, and he told me, "Did you listen to Boomer and Gio?" And I said, "No." At 8 o'clock, they interviewed Joe Douglas. And I will say this, and what he told me, Joe Douglas said, when he brought up Sam Darnold, he said that Sam Darnold's going to have a great career in the NFL, but he never said with the New York Jets, which is starting to make me believe that Joe Douglas is going to look to part ways with Sam Darnold, but not necessarily. Also, when he talked about Cowher coming to the New York Jets, he mentioned that there are a lot of candidates that they're very interested in, not just any one person. So that tells you that maybe Cowher is an interesting guy that they're going to interview moving forward in this offseason. The Jets are going to have a lot of opportunities to look at great candidates, and hopefully this time around they let Joe Douglas decide who the next head coach of the New York Jets is going to be, and maybe this franchise could start moving in a positive direction. But I will say this, ladies and gentlemen. I think when you look at this pick at number 2, Joe Douglas can go a lot of ways. He could do a lot of things at this pick. And you have to look at what Joe Douglas is all about and what he is capable of doing for this organization, and could set this organization up for the next 2 or 3 years in picks. And I told this to the Beef. I said, what happens if Joe Douglas decides to trade out of that pick? There's 3 possible things that Joe Douglas could do. Actually, 4. He could go for Justin Fields at number 2, because Trevor Lawrence, and I told you guys this in the beginning of the segment, the only way Trevor Lawrence doesn't go 1 is if Day becomes the Jacksonville head coach. That's the only way. So if that happens, Trevor Lawrence could be a New York Jet, but it's not going to happen, and I'm not upset about it. I'm really not. I think Justin Fields is going to be a special player if he does go to the New York Jets or wherever he goes. Then you have Sewell. Sewell is one of the best offensive linemen we've seen in a very long time. Some people say a generational type of talent. There's 2 generational type of players in this year's draft. And we forget about the great Heisman Trophy winner yesterday in Smith. Well, everybody forgets what he had this year, an unbelievable season. Some people don't think he's the best player on his team. Some people pick Waddle to be the number 1 player.
God, no.
But nevertheless, you're looking at the possibility of the Jets drafting Zach Wilson at number 2, which I think is a huge mistake for the organization.
Your other crazy friend, Eric Martini.
And Josh.
And Josh.
Yes, and Josh Silverberg, who likes Zach Wilson. He didn't say that he would put Zach Wilson there, but he said that if Zach Wilson is the guy that stands out to Joe Douglas, he would take Zach Wilson. And then this is the other thing he can do. He can move out of the pick. He can go all the way down to Carolina's pick, which is 5. Carolina is picking right now at 5. And they could give Carolina Justin Fields. I'm sorry. Could absolutely get Justin Fields at number 2. And then the Jets could decide, you know what? Trading up from 5 to 2 could give the Jets this year's 5th pick, next year's Carolina first-round pick, and this year's Carolina second-round pick.
And they could still, even trading back only that far, they could end up with Devontae Smith, and they still get a great player out of that.
That, or they could decide, you know what? They like Zach Wilson, and Zach Wilson at 5 makes more sense than going at 2. Where teams and obviously organizations and fans are going to attack the Jets for bringing in a BYU quarterback that I know there were BYU quarterbacks that have come to the NFL and succeeded. Steve Young being one of them.
Right.
So that's a possibility. But I don't want that as a Jet fan. As a Jet fan, you want a guy like Joe Douglas to make a decision. Is Sam Darnold the quarterback moving forward? Or is Sam Darnold another trade piece where he can rebuild this team through the draft?
Yeah, it's going to be hard for them to get a first-round pick now with his struggles in the second half of the season. Obviously, not all his fault, but he still struggled. But if they can get a second, and a team obviously being desperate could make that work, they could even, if they make it happen before the draft, they could even have even more scenarios to work with where they could trade back and maybe still get their guys. If they don't, maybe they don't want Fields, maybe they want Sewell, and maybe they get a combination of that too. Or like you said with the Panthers, maybe they trade back and then they go for Devontae Smith, or they go for maybe Jamar Chase or something like that.
It is so fun to watch what's going to happen. I know the playoffs are right here and everybody can't wait to see who wins the Super Bowl, but everybody can't wait until the offseason because there's so many things that could happen this offseason, not just with the Jets. A lot of organizations, a lot of changes are about to happen for the Lions organization. Why am I not surprised? The New York Jets, why am I not surprised? The two of maybe the top 3 worst teams in the NFL right now, looking for another coach and looking for a new GM, as the Lions are.
The Texans too.
Yeah, and the Texans.
Who are also incredibly cash-strapped like the Lions are.
So, everybody's trying to decide, where is Eric Bieniemy going to go? Is he going to go to the Jets? Is he going to go to Houston? And you heard what Stephen A. Smith, and I listened to what Stephen A. Smith said the other day, and I'm not a big Stephen A. Smith fan, and I think he's more about basketball than he is about football or any other sport that he speaks about. But he said something very, very intriguing and very interesting. Do you know what that is, Petey?
No, I do not.
What was I just talking about?
You were talking about the Texans and Eric Bieniemy and Deshaun Watson.
He said that if Eric Bieniemy decides to go to the New York Jets, he can set his career back another 5 to 10 years.
Of course he does.
He said that Eric Bieniemy, being that he's a black coach, that's what he said, he doesn't want him to go to the New York media so the New York media can feed and friends off of him. He is better off going to a team like Houston where the press is not too structural and to attack the head coach and attack the person that he is as an NFL coach. Now, Todd Bowles was successful somewhat over here. He really was. He was here with the Jets for 3 years. Okay. His first year was the best year that he had ever had, but he was nowhere close to as bad as Adam Gase. Not even close. And you see that if you see what's his name again is doing over there with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Todd Bowles is going to have another coaching job. He's going to get another coaching job one way or another. I don't think it's going to be in the next year or so, but probably in 2 years. If he's coaching one of the best defenses in the league, somebody's going to give him a second chance.
I think he already got one interview, though, already. I want to say the Chargers, the Lions, something like that, already gave him an interview.
I don't think anybody's going to give him a job right away.
No, I don't think so either, just because I think the initial defensive coach mix is going to be with Saleh and then Eberflus. And maybe we heard the Rams with Brandon Staley. He's gotten some interviews already, I think, from the Chargers as well. So I think that'll be the defensive coach mix. Not to mention, as we've said many times, it's already a trend that's falling apart as it is. Outside of the Bills and the Titans, I think, really, all these teams have really gone for offensive coaches now.
Well, because the game has changed to an offensive style of game. And listen, if the Jets think a defensive-minded coach is going to be the best coach available, then they absolutely go for it. And I don't know who he's going to bring for his offensive corner, but it better be a very good offensive coordinator.
Yeah, they could take the Bills' approach in that because they brought in McDermott with a good GM, and then they obviously brought in a very good general manager. And they stuck to the rebuild. Even though they made the playoffs that first year, they still stuck to that whole rebuild. And we saw the Titans do the same thing. The Titans fired an offensive coach a year they made the playoffs and won a playoff game to hire Vrabel and to make it work over there. And we've seen how much better that team's gotten since Vrabel's got there too.
Well, again, I do look at where the Jets are and what this team needs to do. They need to figure out where they're going to go at the coach position. That is the number one thing. We talked about it on Down to the Wire. I think the Jets need to figure out that first before they figure out anything. And I think Joe Douglas needs to build around this team through the draft. I think he knows that. That's where he comes from, the Baltimore Ravens. Right. Successful as they've been over the last, 20, 30 years, the Baltimore Ravens have been. And the reason why is they drafted very, very well.
Right. Outside of, obviously, some coaches are their own GMs like Bill Belichick, but in terms of a true GM, Ozzie Newsome was the best in the league when he was there.
Absolutely. And then you talk about the possibilities of free agency. Well, then Joe Douglas will have money to maneuver at that realm where they can bring in whoever they want. If they feel that Tooney is the guy that they want in free agency, he's the big offensive lineman that they want to bring in, maybe they don't have to bring in a tackle and draft the tackle at number 2. Right. Maybe they say they put Tooney over there on the other side, on the right side. Mm-hmm. So it helps out the tackle, and you keep Font there. I think that could really solidify their line.
Right. Or they could they don't have to take one in the first round. Maybe they can wait until the second round for maybe one of the Texas A&M guys or the other small school guy that's pretty good. One of the FCS schools. I forget his name.
I don't know. I don't know where the Jets are going to move in position in the draft or what they're going to do. But I think the Jets are set up in a good position where they could be successful. Mm-hmm. They really could.
And again, a lot of the things the Jets need most are big strengths in this draft. With the receiving depth that's in this draft, there's a lot of good corners that they maybe not with the first pick they're going to take, but with the Seahawks pick, they could take between the corner depth and the wide receiver depth that they can go for. And the only thing that's a weakness in this draft, there's 2 top pass rushers and that's it. That's the only thing. And that's the only flaw that they could do. But maybe if the Jets end up trading back and maybe they trade back a little further and get a lot of picks, they might end up going that direction too.
I think that could happen.
Mm-hmm.
That could happen if Justin Fields wins a national title, which I believe he will. Justin Fields is going number 2. I don't think the Jets are going to pass up on a guy that wins a national title who arguably is the better quarterback of these two.
Yeah, and I think with recent draft trends too, you've also not seen as much of those crazy trades probably since the 2017 draft with Trubisky being traded up for by the Bears, Mahomes, and Watson. All 3 were traded up for by those respective teams. Since then, we really haven't seen that. We've seen teams stick to their picks and really take those top players and just build around those with other quality players, other balanced type players.
And if you never checked out QB1 on Netflix, if you're a Jet fan and you want to get to know Justin Fields from high school, you'll have the opportunity to get to know who he is as a player, as a person, as a teammate. It's a great documentary on following the best quarterbacks in the country in high school that are going to be next future NCAA superstar quarterbacks. And he was the number 1 recruit coming out of the nation. So it's definitely something that if you're a Jet fan, you definitely have to check out. I think it's very unique and very interested to learn about maybe your future starting quarterback of your organization moving forward. So as far as the New York Giants are concerned, and I like to go through New York sports, when we come back, we're going to be with a very talented football player from West Virginia, the West Virginia tight end recruit, Treylan Davis. We're going to have him on when we come back from break. But I will say this. When you think of the New York Giants, this was a good season for them. It wasn't a great season for them. They should have made the playoffs. Having a losing season and almost making the playoffs isn't something to be excited about as a New York Giant fan. I think the Giants need to hold up and hope that moving forward, and I'm hearing that they're going to keep Gettleman for another year because of the great impact that defense has turned into this offseason.
Yeah, the late round picks especially.
Question is, Leonard Williams. Leonard Williams is a free agent now. Are they willing, or do they have the money to pay Leonard Williams the money that he is going to expect? He had 3 sacks the final game of the season.
I think he finished with 13 or 12 or 13 on the season. He was top 5 in the league.
I mean, look at it this way. TJ Watt, who a lot of people are picking to win the Defensive Player of the Year, he's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
He had 13 sacks. 13 sacks. And they're talking about him winning the Defensive Player. So what makes Leonard Williams so far off of being one of the best defensive players in the league this year? He's going to get a lot of money. He's going to get a lot of money. So, and I think it was a big mistake. You give up a third and a fifth, you sign him to a long-term deal. That was a bad move by Dave Gettleman. That really was. Because the impact that this could hurt the Giants defense next year could be severe. Absolutely severe if he decides to go elsewhere or somebody decides to give him more money.
Not to mention Tomlinson's also a free agent too. So if you lose both of them, you really only have Lawrence left on that interior, which was a big strength for them throughout the year, especially stopping the run. I think they were number 6 in the league at stopping the run.
I do believe that they'll franchise him. I do, if it came down to it. But Leonard Williams won't be very happy with that.
That's what scares me, because a lot of the players the last, I think, 5 years really have really been anti-franchise tag. Honestly, I'm surprised the Players Union hasn't overturned that kind of thing yet with all the players that have been frustrated by it.
If you franchise a player like him, he's going to get $20-something million.
Right.
I mean, he had 13 sacks. He's one of the best sack specialists in the league right now. So you're talking about about 23, 24 million on your cap. It doesn't make sense. The Giants have to make a decision. Sign him to a long-term deal. He's still very young. He's 27 years old. Sign him to a 4-year, 3-year deal. Give him about 20 million a year. Give him 60 million. He's worth it. He's worth it to that defense. You need a pass rusher. And he showed that he could be a pass rusher for the future, especially the interior. When you look at the Giants' success over the years, it's all interior defense. It always is in the interior. O.C. Umenyor, Justin Tuck, all those guys are interior type of players. So those are the guys that you want to keep. And I believe Leonard Williams is an important piece moving forward for the New York Giants. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be talking to West Virginia tight end recruit Treylan Davis here on Below the Mic.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Do current market conditions have you nervous? Our experienced team of financial professionals at Heritage Harbor Financial Associates understands that no two investors are alike. We all have different goals, needs, and appetites for risk. That's why the one-size-fits-all approach does not work, especially when planning for retirement. At Heritage Harbor Financial Associates, we analyze your unique investment style so that you can work toward your individual retirement goals on your terms. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates can help you take steps to reach your retirement goals by providing a wide array of financial products to fit your needs, even for the risk adverse. Give us a call at 631-331-6599 to learn more or to set up an appointment with one of our financial professionals. You can also find us on the web at hhfa.org or on Facebook at facebook.com/hhfa.org. Our number again is 631-331-6599. That's 631-331-6599. Investments in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds and variable annuities are not FDIC insured and are subject to fluctuation in value market risk, including loss of principal. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates offers securities through AXA Advisors, LLC, New York, New York. Member FINRA, SIPC, annuity and insurance products offered through AXA Network, LLC.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Below the Mic. Everybody knows what the name of the show is. I don't have to say it or repeat myself over and over again. I do like to do that sometimes, but you know, that's sports media, that's sports music. I don't know. Have you heard sports music before? No, who cares what you say? Anyways, remember, you can call us at 631-965-4990. You can go to our website at worldwidesportsradio.com. Download our app on iOS, WWSRN, or Android, worldwidesportsradio.com. Dr. Dre, yes, a Dr. Dre track. Dr. Dre right now is, thank God, safe and taken care of right now. He was in the ICU. He had a brain aneurysm yesterday.
Wow.
Lot of stuff going on in the world. And I thought beginning of the year, and you think with the COVID-19, hopefully we see that tailing from behind, the whole Donald Trump situation right now in Washington, D.C. Dr. Dre has a brain aneurysm. Can we ever have something good that happens to this country? Well, hopefully having this guy on the show will put some smiles on somebody's face, because it does for me. We are now talking to West Virginia tight end recruit Treylan Davis. What's going on, Treylan?
Oh, nothing much. I appreciate you guys reaching out, and I'm excited to be on your show.
Absolutely. We're excited for you to be on the show. I mean, you're the star. We're just Speedy P. I mean, look at this guy. I mean, anybody that has to look at this guy more than 5 minutes probably will throw up.
Oh, man.
Come on, Speedy.
What am I, Medusa now?
Well, you do. You look like that. Well, Medusa will, what do they, turn you to stone?
Turn you into a stone statue.
So, turn anybody into stone, I'd probably put you in front of a bunch of people, but that's just me.
I'm sure you would.
Anyways, we are now talking to West Virginia tight end recruit Treylan Davis. Treylan, how are you and family doing with this whole COVID-19, this past year, high school? I mean, this must have been so frustrating for you and your family. What did you think about this year, and what could you say about the good things and the bad things for this year?
It's definitely been different. We're trying to live as normal as possible right now. Wearing a mask in and out of places and being out and about, or whether that's having a small get-togethers and that sort of thing. And, I mean, it's still been enjoyable. I got to have a sports season this year, even though it was, half of the length of it would normally be. And, I'm thankful for the things that have came out of it, that we've learned from this. And the bads will eventually be turned into goods, I have a feeling.
So what were some of the highlights of those high school season that you had this year? What were some of those best experiences that you've had, either within the game or even just in this different kind of season?
It's hard, when you look up in the stands, it's hard. Sometimes it gets hard to stay motivated and playing and stuff. You don't have the crowd buzzing in your head like you normally would, but then it just comes down to you, your coaching staff, your team around you, and keep being motivated within yourselves. And I think it taught us, that was huge to me, is what it taught us, that we had to motivate ourselves throughout the season. And it was honestly, it was a lot of fun that way. It really was. We learned a lot from each other this year.
Well, Treylan, I don't know how you can say you didn't want to see angry, drunk fans screaming and wanting to bust people's heads that their team isn't winning or they're not playing more than 4 games in a regular season, or have to look at somebody like this screaming. Could you imagine 7 or 8 people that look like this guy? I mean, I'd be scared. So maybe you're probably better off not having fans like that. But all in all, I know it must have really pissed off you and some of the players on your team to really experience your senior year. This is your senior year, right?
Yep.
Your senior year, and not really have any fans that come and watch you. And I would be disturbed and very upset about that. That's for one thing. But also the fact that your families couldn't get the chance to see you in your final season in high school. So I could see why you would be upset. So let me ask you this question. When you look at the player that you are as a tight end, and we talk about the tight end position really being a big, strong wide receiver. That's what they are now. There is no more big, bulky guy that's going to stand in the way and all he can do is block and maybe once in a blue moon catch the ball. It all changed with Jason Witten. That's what it really all changed with. The different style of wide receiver / tight end, and then Gronkowski, and then Aaron Hernandez. I don't know why I mentioned him, but I mentioned him. So all these different tight ends that have become like that prototypical big wide receiver. When you look at the type of player that you are and the growth of the player you've become over the last couple of years, watching all these tight ends like Kittle and Kelsey play, what type of player do you look at yourself to be?
I've tried to be as versatile as possible. I want to be well-rounded and good at several different things in what I do. I love to block, but I also love to catch passes. So, and the way I grew in my frame and things, tight end really just fit my mold in the way I like to play football. And I've loved watching George Kittle, Travis Kelsey, all those guys. Their game is almost complete. George Kittle especially is very well-rounded. He'll just put his face in people and finish blocks, and he'll score in the red zone when you give him the ball. And, I aspire to be that way. And that's the way I try to model my game.
So have you had those kinds of experiences? Obviously, different levels of football, it might not have the same kind of movement around with the versatility, but we've seen Kittle, like you were saying, with Kyle Shanahan, get moved in the backfield a lot of the time or split out wide because outside of Brandon Ayuk, they really don't have any wide receivers. So have you been involved in that kind of different formations, different sets at any level of football? And if so, what was it like?
I enjoyed it a lot. I've played fullback. I've been in the backfield as a fullback. I've played H-back. Lead blocking, going out for passes. I've also been split out wide, caught deep balls, that sort of thing. So, it's a lot of fun that way. It's not the same every play. There's never 2 plays back to back that are, repetitive and that sort of thing. So you're always doing something different. And I really enjoy that. It's a lot of fun that way.
As you guys know, we are talking to West Virginia tight end recruit Treylan Davis. Treylan, obviously being recruited by West Virginia, a very well-known football school. We all know, quote-unquote, Geno Smith, if you've all forgotten him, who played for the New York Jets and really screwed up. He's still in the NFL over there with Seattle. We all know where he's probably the highest-paid backup quarterback in the NFL.
No, Taysom Hill is.
I'm sorry. He's the second highest backup quarterback in the NFL.
And second highest.
Well, there you go. Anyways, when you look at West Virginia, what was it like being recruited by West Virginia? And also, what was it like being recruited when at this time with the whole COVID-19 and really having your conference calls on Zoom, not getting the opportunity to go and visit the school and talk to the coaches and getting the chance to maybe be prepped with the beautiful cheerleaders dancing in front of you. So what was it like, my friend?
It was definitely not what you expect out of this whole process at all. Having FaceTimes all the time and doing your stuff, the importance of things through Zoom meetings and, like signing day, even not having a coach here, doing it over the phone and that sort of thing. And it was different. It was easy to connect to these guys though. And they did a great job with all of it, staying in touch, keeping me updated, showing me as many things as I can through FaceTime calls or, pictures, sending me text messages, that sort of thing. And, we followed up with each other a lot and they stayed in touch the whole time. And I just fell in love with what they've got going on and what they're building there.
Was there anything specific with your head coach, Neil Brown, who I think is entering his third year now, I believe? He's relatively new. They had to keep switching coaches after Rich Rodriguez left. And is there anything specific with him that really swayed you to pick West Virginia over other schools you were recruited by? I saw Cincinnati was one that recruited you, and they were undefeated this year, so they're definitely been a big program. I think there was one in the Pac-12 as well. I forget who it was. But why West Virginia and why Neil Brown?
I picked Neil Brown in West Virginia because it's a very family-oriented place. He does a great job. Like, even on signing day, he congratulated me and my entire family for our big day. He's always including family. He's always pushing that behind what he does. And he includes all his guys and looks at them more like friends and family than he would, looking down on them and talking about them as just football players. And that really held a big influence to my decision. And, that I hold myself accountable for that too. I mean, I try to include my family in as much as I can. And the people down there also represent like blue collar, hardworking folks, coal mining backgrounds, that sort of thing. And that's how I was raised and that's what I was brought up around. So it was a great fit for me.
We are talking to West Virginia tight end recruit Treylan Davis. Now, Treylan, I think the fans want to know, what type of person are you? I mean, your personality. I'm very punctual, and this guy's very boring. I mean, look at him. I mean, you look at him, you just look like a hairy monster, a creature who wears tiny whiteys.
I do not.
He's a big SpongeBob fan. By the way, he's an enjoyable SpongeBob fan. I do take a peek sometimes when he's working and editing our shows on what he does in his spare time. He watches it on his phones. He kind of covers himself, but he's a very interesting guy. So what kind of personality that, when you bring out to the people that want to get to know you in West Virginia, are you a fun personality or a comedy clown personality when you're in the locker room? Are you a captain? Are you a leader? What type of person are you? What is West Virginia getting as a leader, as a personality over there as a tight end?
Well, my goal is always to step up and be the hardest worker in any environment I'm in. I try to be a leader. And I was a unanimous captain on my high school team this last season. And, it was that's what I try to be. I try to be the person anyone and everyone can come to and talk to about anything. But I also try to keep my problems underneath of everything and just try to lead everyone in the right direction. So that's kind of what I want to try to bring to that place.
So I want to go back to your high school. You play in Ohio. You're from Ohio. You played high school football in Ohio. It's always thought of as a Southern thing, big high school football, but Ohio is huge for it too. A lot of national coverage, a lot of bigger coverage than most states have. What were some of those experiences like, both again on and off the field, that you saw, and maybe some experiences you have even not even playing, maybe just embracing that kind of crowd, that kind of tailgating, stuff like that?
Right, absolutely. Ohio cares about football too, and that's a big thing I want to make known. Even as Southern Ohio, Northern Ohio, everyone here, I mean, we love it. And there's not too many places you go anymore where all week long, fans, people around town are talking about what's going to happen Friday night. You know, who's going to win, what are we going to do, plans to come to the games. So you walk out there, and an hour and a half before the game even starts, right after the gates open, you've got people up there reserving seats in the crowd. You know, I mean, people care. And then you walk out there for kickoff, and the whole place is sold out, and there's not another ticket left. So you've got people standing outside the fences and whatnot watching the games. And it's a great feeling. There's a ton of support in Ohio. And regardless of what school you play for around here, other schools around you root for you. If you're doing well, or if your team's doing well, a lot of us, if one of the Southern Ohio teams make a state run, I mean, all the coaches get together and talk. Good luck, do well. I hope you guys do well. And you know, it's really a great football culture around here.
All right, Treylan. So I'm going to guess that there's only two teams you'd be rooting for in the NFL: the Browns or the Cincinnati Bengals. Am I right with one of them?
No, sir.
Who you root for?
I like the Steelers and the Texans. I'm kind of half and half on them.
You know, it's so
Steelers
interesting.
fan in Ohio. That's got to be interesting.
You know, it's so interesting because now kids these days, they're really not even fans of their hometowns anymore. It's crazy. I talk about this on our network all the time, is that it's more become, football, baseball, hockey. It's all about the star player, the guy that you follow when you're a kid, the guy that you compare your skills to, or something like that. So if you're a fan of that particular guy, some people become fan of that team.
Or who's on your fantasy team.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up a Jet fan. I mean, I was a Jet fan at 6 years old. Boy, oh boy, have I regretted myself ever since I did that. But I've been a Jet fan since day one. And not because they're a good team, because they've been absolutely crappy. But there's something about the Jets that I grew up, and I did at one point when Donovan McNabb was drafted. I think I was 12 or 13 when he became he was a Syracuse quarterback. I followed him in high school, loved the guy. When he went to the Eagles, I was an Eagles fan. I was a Jet fan, but I rooted for the Eagles. And everybody said, "How could you be an Eagle fan? It must be the green and white." And I was like, "No, it's Donovan McNabb." So, but you love a player, and it's really the transition of sports. So, what player in professional sports, it doesn't matter what sport, what player really drew you into loving that sport and loving that team?
I always loved watching like Hines Ward for the Steelers a while back from the tight end's perspective. And then, on the Texans, J.J. Watt. I mean, his mentality, the way he works, the way he brings people in around him for a common goal. And, I've always tried to be kind of a mix and somewhat in between the lines of those two. And, I mean, there's no better work ethic to model yourself after than J.J. Watt.
How about a defensive player for the Steelers? They have a rich defensive history, especially recently, too. I have a lot of great defensive players. Who is your favorite among that group, especially maybe that Super Bowl team?
Me. It was me. I mean, You don't remember me because I wasn't, I wore different masks. I was different. I was James Ferrier one day. I mean, it doesn't look like me, but, when you wear the mask, it covers, and I wear the facial, black stuff. So you don't know it. So if it is a Troy Polamalu or James Ferrier, that's
I'm going to say maybe you could pull off a clean shaven Brett Kiesel or something like that.
But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, like you already said, his name, Troy Polamalu. He had a downhill mentality. He always came down looking to make a great hit on somebody. He's headhunting all the time. And Ryan Shazier the same way, and he played for the Buckeyes here in my home state. So I followed him through his journey, and it sucks that he got hurt, but they're fun to watch all the time.
Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, who's your number one pick? Be honest.
I'm going to go with Trevor Lawrence.
Okay. All right. Yeah, you said Buckeyes, so the first thing that pops in my mind, the Buckeyes fan. So I wanted to hear your honest opinion, but I will say this. Trevor Lawrence in the last 2 years in the big game, he didn't show up. He didn't show up in the two big games that he needed to show up in, and Justin Fields did, breaking records, 6 touchdowns, over almost 385 yards, and 1 interception. He was sensational in that game. I think people need to really put Justin Fields on that billboard and say, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, I don't know. Anyways, we do this with all our recruits, okay? So we're going to ask you 3 silly questions, and then we're going to let you ask us whatever questions that you want. 3 questions of whatever you have of us. If you want to ask if Speedy wears underwear at some of the shows, the answer would be no. Okay, so
I didn't once at my house when I was with my family, not here.
Trey, I'm telling you right now, man, this guy is such a liar. He's such a liar. Look at him. I mean, if you look at him, the first thing that pops into your head is liar. That's all. That's the way I look at him. He's a liar. But he actually told me that he has done the show Commando. And that to me is really confusing.
I said I did it once in my house with pajamas on.
You figure this guy out, man. Anyways, first question I have for you, man: boxers or briefs, and why?
I'm gonna have to go with boxers.
Why you like your friends to hang? Is that
It's just comfortable? It's just comfortable.
You don't squeeze those little friends of yours, right?
Right.
I would agree sometimes that I don't want to squeeze my little friends, but I don't want them to hang. I don't want them to be smacking back and forth. So I would agree with you. I in some ways, when I'm going to bed, I'll wear the boxers. If I'm out and about, I'm wearing my boxer briefs. So there you go. Second question I have is favorite snack to eat before a game and why?
It's hard to choose. I mean, I'm back and forth a lot. Normally, most of the time, I would just go get a pizza, like a Little Caesars pizza, and just sit down and eat it before I head up to the high school.
Well, you're a big guy. You're 6'6", right? Am I right?
6'5". Well, you're right. You're right about
6'5", about 250 pounds. Big man, like the pizza. If you get a New York man, I think you'd be eating instead of a small Little Caesars. You go to a Gino's Pizza over here, and the pizza is to die for over here. So
I've heard, yeah.
You'll love it, man. You'll gobble a couple of those if you ever go to the New York Jets or the Giants. I hope the Jets. Always hope the Jets.
No, come to the Giants. We're going to get rid of Evan Ingram, who has strop problems.
Every single tight end they've ever had has stunk. Okay, you better off going to the Jets.
Jeremy Shockey was good.
Well, that's true. He was at one point, but then he wanted to leave because they ran him out of town.
I know.
So that's a really good argument on that one. Last question I have for you: blondes or brunettes, and why?
I'll have to go with brunettes. I've always
girlfriend.
Do what?
Do you have a girlfriend?
No, sir.
Oh, West Virginia, here he comes. Oh my God, this guy's gonna have some fun. It's always good to go to college when you're single, but you'll meet some Southern girl over there, fall in love, and then go into the NFL and buy her a nice 6 or 7 carat ring and get married. What do you think about that?
We'll see. We'll see where that leads me.
It'll leave you to a lot of things. Just hopefully you do it safely. That's for sure. Anyways, we'll give you the floor. You become the broadcaster. You can ask us any question you want. You got 3 of them. Ask away.
All right. If you had to pick one food for the rest of your life to eat, what would it be?
Wow, that's a good one. That is a really good one. Oh, I'm torn. I'm torn because there's 2.
He likes his. Listen. He likes dark sausages. He does.
That's not the 2.
He likes the
with.
dark sausages. I ask him, "Do you like white sausages or do you like dark sausages?" And what do you say, Speedy?
Yes, I like darker, spicier sausages, but that's not what I'm picking, Treylan. I'm gonna go nachos. I'm just a big nachos Mexican food person.
Nachos, I got you.
Yeah.
Oh, right over his head. Anyways, I'm a hamburger guy. I like my burgers. I get one of those big ginormous, and it's not even a word, but I'll get the ginormous, because it's like as big as 6 or 7 men, okay? And I'll try to eat that burger before I die. So that's what I would go. I would go with a burger.
Okay, all right. If you could change your name, what would you change it to?
Wow,
this is good. I like this.
It's weird because I've thought of this because I like longer names, and my name's obviously only 4 letters, so I've actually thought of this for a while. Yes, I know my name's boring. Thank you for noting. So, let's see. Wow, that's a very good question. Among the questions we've had since we've had this segment going on, where the recruits.
Could you just answer the damn question?
A lot of good names.
Just give them one.
All right. I'll say Jeremiah. That's a good one.
I want a porno name. Okay, that's what I want.
Porno name.
I want somebody to remember me forever. I want to be called Bo Jingles. Okay.
Okay.
I like Bo Jingles. That's
okay
for me. So if you ever want to call me Bo and last name Jingles, you understand why I want to be Jingles. So there you go. Last question, bud.
All right. What's your guys' favorite numbers?
Ooh, all right. I will go.
Got 60 million, so be ready for this.
I will go one digit, 1 2 digit. I'll just say 7 and 10.
How many good numbers do you have? It's
7 and 10.
One number. He said, what number do you like?
All right, 7. We'll go 7.
All right, 7. Lucky number 7. He's not lucky. So it's definitely not lucky with the ladies, that's for sure. I'm going to go with my sports number. That's 34. I used that number all the way through my high school I was a big-time hockey player. That was the number I wore. So I wore that number wherever I went. So the number 34, which equals, if you add it up, 3 plus 4 is 7, which that doesn't say much to look at him. So there you go. Anyways, Treylan, why don't you tell the fans how they can find you on social media?
All my stuff's usually just my name. Treylan Davis 22 is my Twitter, and then my Instagram is just my name, Treylan Davis.
Well, Treylan, I want to get you on the show when the season starts next year. I'm going to be rooting for you. I root for all the recruits that we have on the show. You seem like, I will say this, we've interviewed a load of you recruits from next year to this year, top recruits. You appear very confident and very intelligent the way you answer your questions. Even your questions that you asked us, very unique. I'm very, very impressed. I'm very impressed with you, man. I'm going to keep tabs on you. What are your plans? Are you planning? Is your goal to be in the NFL?
I mean, if the opportunity comes along, then absolutely. But it's pretty early to see that yet. So my whole goal is I'm majoring in business and stuff, and want to open up an own gym.
I like you, man. I really do. Personality wise, you're very confident, but you're not cocky, and I like that. And you speak up. It's a long way away from that. A lot of you recruits, and you can admit this. A lot of the recruits say, I'm going to the NFL, or that's the goal. That's the goal. Your goal is, listen, I'm not ready yet. We'll see. That's a good enough answer for me, man. And I'm going to be rooting for you. I hope you are successful. And I want to get you on. I want you to be a fan of the show. Download our app. That's what you got to do, man.
All right.
Speedy will text you the app. You listen to the show. Be a fan. Tell your friends about it. We really appreciate you joining us. And we're going to get you on again. We want you to be a friend of the show.
Thank you. I appreciate that, you guys. And I appreciate all the time that you got me on here.
Absolutely. You were great, by the way. We were just talking to West Virginia tight end recruit Treylan Davis. Nice kid. Mm-hmm. I really like him. Come on, man. How could you not like a kid like that?
He was great.
He is a smart kid, confident kid, not cocky at all, and gave you straight answers. And the questions that he asked, when I asked him to be the broadcaster, were sensational.
They were phenomenal. I think since we started doing the segment, like I said, they were the best ones.
The best ones.
Mm-hmm.
I did. So Treylan is definitely on my lead guys that I loved on our network. I'm not saying I didn't love all of you guys. I'm sure when you become a fan of the show and listen to me attack Speedy half the show, I mean, it really brings out the light in my eyes. That's for sure.
The light in your eyes.
That's the light in my eyes. I like to put a twinkle in my eyes, and Speedy is something that just generates craziness. So, anyways,
that's the one who admits he's crazy all the time.
I do. I do admit that I'm crazy half the time. I mean, all the time, or I mean, some of the time. But I do like to have fun, and I want people to realize that this is a radio show to entertain people. This is not to sit here and be like the boring. Let's talk about New York sports. Woo! I mean, some of the stuff, even though there's some stuff to talk about with New York sports, when you break out what you really feel about it. If you really want to know my honest opinion, New York sports sucks. But all in all, we're expecting good seasons for the Knicks and the Nets. We're expecting good seasons for the Islanders and Rangers, hopefully. And, the Jets and the Giants, who would have thought that they are the worst teams in New York? Well, that just tells you one thing about New York football. But we have the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs. I mean, Joshua Allen throwing the ball all over the place. The so-called dime dozer. That's what we call it. Anyways, it's very, very interesting in sports. And I know a lot of fans out there could sit back and argue the points on what the Giants said after the game with the Philadelphia Eagles. And a lot of players complained about it. Matter of fact, at the end of the game, if you didn't hear what the Redskins' top pass rusher said, Chase Young said. Did you hear what he said?
Yeah, he was saying something about how classless the Doug Peterson was, and he really was taking shots at them, maybe trying to fuel a rivalry within themselves. And he was defending. I think he was defending a lot of the Giants players who were tweeting throughout the game. Obviously, he couldn't tweet throughout the game because he's playing in it, but they were defending. He was defending a lot of the players. Slayton, Saquon Barkley, obviously he being hurt. I think Blake Martinez was a big one. He was defending a lot of them on Twitter too, and I think he even retweeted a lot of them.
It's really, really crazy. And if you were a fan of that team, and you knew you had a chance to win that game, there was a whole quarter left, and Washington was up only by 3 points.
Right.
It was only 3 points,
and it should have been tied.
And it should have been tied going into the fourth quarter. And then you decide to bring in this guy Rosenthal, whatever his name is,
Nate Sudfeld,
or whatever the hell his name. I didn't even know what his name was because it doesn't even matter. They bring him in because he's like a third generational quarterback that's been in the NFL. Who cares? And it was an embarrassment. It was an embarrassment right now for the NFL to try to fight this and figure this out on how to argue the points that Peterson didn't try to bomb that game and screw the Giants out of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. And now we're going to see, interestingly enough, what kind of rivalry will that produce in the future, too, because the Giants are very young. They're probably still going to keep growing. And the Eagles, they were down this year, but they're still very talented as a whole, so they should be able to be okay. So what kind of rivalry will that bring? In NFC East, there's already has pretty intense rivalries as it is.
Oh, it's absolutely incredible what this turned into. You're not talking about the playoffs. I mean, the first thing that you would think about, the NFL season wild card weekend. No, they're talking right now. The big story right now is about how bad watching that Washington Eagles game, how disturbing it was to watch Jalen Hurts get pulled out of the game. Carson Wentz didn't even suit up. And then you see this Sudfeld kid come in who nobody even cares about and comes out in the fourth quarter because he said he was going to play him in the fourth quarter when you had a chance to win. So, and even the players, you lost your locker room.
Right. Carson Wentz already quoted in saying that relationship has already been tarnished with him and Doug Peterson, so he wants out. So whether the Eagles get rid of him or Peterson is to be determined, but it most likely is going to be the player. We always see that being the case.
No, well, it's going to be the case because they have Jalen Hurts.
Right.
And Jalen Hurts showed, but even Jalen Hurts, you saw him shaking his head when he got pulled out of the game. If you read his lips, I didn't do anything wrong. You heard it at the end of the third quarter when Sudfeld came in. So, it's so embarrassing for the NFL to sit back and not find the Philadelphia Eagles, not find Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson should have lost his job. He's never going to get another job after that, or he's going to have a problem getting a job. He'll probably go work with Andy Reid again. I mean, that's what probably will happen. I don't think anybody's going to give him as good as he was for the last 2 years as the Philadelphia Eagles head coach, and he won a Super Bowl. No thanks to him. It was Nick Foles, and really that trick play. Yes, it was his play calling.
Yeah, I would say I would give more credit than that.
It was his play calling, but it's been an embarrassment. He's been an embarrassment, and nobody's going to sit back and really think that he didn't try to choke in that game to screw the Giants. Mm-hmm. He screwed the Giants, but that's the Giants' fault. They shouldn't have left it to the last game of the season.
Well, of course.
They should have played harder, and they should have won one of those games that they should have won. They should have beaten the Ravens. The Ravens were playing trendy offense. They weren't good.
The Ravens were running the same thing the whole game, and the Giants could not adjust for
and they couldn't stop Lamar Jackson. Everybody else could figure out how to stop him, but the Giants. Whose fault is that? That's Joe Judge's fault. You're the coach. You get all the compliments when the team does well, and you're going to get all the blame when the team does crappy. So, to me, I mean, Giant fans shouldn't be angry. That's not the Giant. That's not the Eagles' responsibility to win the game. But it was embarrassing. The NFL should be ashamed of themselves for letting this go on, and the NFL should slap a junction on them. Maybe they should lose a draft pick.
Yeah, we've seen the NBA do that already. With I think Chicago did it, and was it the Mavericks who did it before they got Luka? I think were showing that they were tanking, and the NBA did find them. And I think they said the next offense, they would lose a draft pick. So yeah, you're right. The NFL, if they do investigate that kind of thing further, could adapt that kind of policy. I mean, we've already seen teams try to do it. Miami announced they were doing it, but then they all of a sudden tried to win in the second half of the season. They spoiled a couple of playoff teams, and the Browns obviously doing it too when they were purging their roster. So we've seen instances where it's happened, but this kind of thing maybe will have to create more of a formal thing when it comes to tanking, whether it's creating a rearranging of the draft order. Maybe they have to swap with another team or something like that. So
it's crazy. It really is. And like I said, the weekend, is bright. I mean, there's a lot of good games. You would expect it to be. I mean, these are the best teams in the NFL. Again, there's not going to be any fans out there except maybe in a couple of stadiums. The Browns.
I think the Browns and the Chiefs, I think, are the two that have fans. And I think there was another one that was saying they might open up fans. I think it was Buffalo, I think, that might want to open up fans as well, just because this is their first hosting of a playoff game in over 20 years.
It's so interesting to see when you look at the games this coming weekend, what games stand out. And I think the game still that stands out to me is the Titans and the Ravens. I think that is the game that stands out to me. I think the Ravens could beat the Titans. I really do. I think they're good enough. They're just as talented as the Titans are, even losing the players that they've lost all season long. The Ravens have been still equal to one of the most talented teams to be going into the playoffs.
Right. And the Ravens' problem, I think, always with this current
Lamar
core,
Jackson.
Not only that, I think this current core the last 3 years has really been more mentally more than anything else. We saw the first year they really rose to that, then they blew that playoff game, or win an in-game against the Bengals. They blew that lead. And then the next year they had the big winning streak, then they lost to the Chargers. And then obviously last year, we know what happened against the Titans. So I think if they can overcome those kinds of, I guess, yips, if you call it, that they might have, whether it's overconfidence or, again, just, I don't know what it was, but
Lamar Jackson running out of the pocket and not throwing the ball in the pocket. That would be it.
Lamar Jackson has definitely had his statements too. And again, I
can't win a game in the playoffs.
So if they beat the Titans, who obviously is the direct connection, and even
who does he remind you of? Who does he remind you of?
Oh, what are you gonna say, Baker Mayfield now?
Andy Dalton. That's who he reminds you of.
Oh,
yeah, that's who he reminds you of. He can't win a game in the playoffs.
Yeah. So again, if they can overcome that kind of thing in this kind of instance against the Titans, who they've had some recent woes with, even this year in the regular season, I think they had a 13-point lead in the fourth quarter and blew it against the Titans.
Let me ask you a question. If Lamar Jackson gets knocked out again in the playoffs, and that's 3 years in a row, he can't win a game in the playoffs, do you decide that Lamar Jackson isn't the guy moving forward?
That's a really tough question, because the Ravens are one of the teams that can afford to do that if that's what they want to do, because outside of a receivers, really they have everything else loaded on that roster. So if they want to save the money, replenish and draft another quarterback, okay. But I mean, it's a very big gamble.
Stocked with some quarterbacks in this draft, especially in the first round. Everybody keeps talking about Trask and all these other guys that we've heard. It could be a late round, first round draft pick. You're looking at Lamar Jackson. The guy can't win the big game. Do you decide, you know what, Lamar, he won an MVP. He's done what he can do, and he just can't win the big game.
Right.
We're not going to win with him in the playoffs. Maybe you go elsewhere. Maybe you bring in RG3 if you fall behind big early in the game. You know what I mean? Because RG3 has won in the playoffs before. He beat a good Seattle team in the playoffs. So maybe you go that route, bringing in a veteran player of RG3, because honestly, Lamar Jackson cannot go into this game. I don't care if they're not favored to win, and they're not favored to win. They need to win this game. Lamar Jackson needs this game more than anybody does, because the guy has not won a playoff game yet. This is his third year in the playoffs, and this is the third time he's gone into the playoffs, and he's going to get knocked out right away. So
yeah, and this is the best chance too, because the Titans' defense is not as strong as it was last year. They've gotten better.
Ryan Tannehill, that's the reason why.
Well, yeah, sure, but from Lamar Jackson, he's not directly competing with Ryan Tannehill. He's facing the Titans defense. And this is the best chance, with this secondary having more woes than they usually do, to attack the middle, attack the outside, and maybe get the tight ends more involved. That was the weakness last year that they couldn't expose, was the Titans had a lot of trouble with tight ends. And that's why when you look at Mark Andrews, you would think he would go off in that kind of game. But if they're going to be able to
attack, a terrible season.
Yeah, he has. And that's why I think they're going to have to really attack the outside if they're going to win this game, because the Titans secondary, they have the talent. They just haven't been performing as well this year. Granted, Adoree Jackson's been hurt, but still, they haven't performed like they did last year.
And that's why I look at Baltimore. Baltimore needs this game more than any of them, because Lamar Jackson, I will say this, and this is something I really wanted to get into. If Lamar Jackson doesn't win this game, and this is a big game for him, a statement game for him in his career, because that's 3 years of being knocked out 1, 2, 3 out of the playoffs. And he won an MVP. He's been in the league for 2 years. You cannot make the excuse. We were talking about being the favorites of going to the Super Bowl. They were my favorites of going to the Super Bowl and winning the whole thing with the talent that they had. And you go back and you can argue these points that if Lamar Jackson doesn't win, his career, to me, is over with the Baltimore Ravens. They expect to be winners in the playoffs. They're built to win in the playoffs. That's what they're built for, playoff football. And if you can't win the big game, you can't play on this team.
You might be right. They could become the Bengals 2.0 from what we saw with Andy Dalton, because that team was loaded too. I don't think it's as loaded as this Ravens team, but that team was loaded too. So there's always that one team that you want to look at, and you never think of it to be the Ravens. The Ravens were always that team, kind of like the Seahawks. They're usually good for win at least one round. Now they're not like that anymore.
No, and that's because of quarterback play. By the way, Clarence Nixon from the Wise Guys, Titans defense sucks. They're horrible, and you're absolutely right. That's why I think could be very, very scary. As good as Derrick Henry is, you stop Derrick Henry, you stop the Titans, because A.J. Brown's a good player. He's a sensational player. To me, he's a Pro Bowl player this year. He's been one of the best wide receivers in the league this year. Very underrated. I remember when he was drafted in the first round, and I wanted the Jets to draft him.
Yes.
But I will say this, he's had a sensational season. The only reason why he's had a sensational season is because they can't stop Derrick Henry, okay? Nobody has. 2,000 yards. The last guy to do that is AP. And you're talking about a guy of very few, a position of very few people that have gotten over 2,000 yards in a season. So Derrick Henry is a scary player. And you're looking at the Titans. Their defense is not top-end defense. The Baltimore Ravens can be. They're a good team. They've lost a lot of defensive players this regular season. Campbell losing him for a significant amount of time has affected him, especially bringing him in from Jacksonville, really transitioning this defense to be a top defense this year, and has fallen apart this year. That secondary that was one of the best secondaries in the league has fallen apart this year. I want to see the Baltimore Ravens this year go into a playoff game and knock off a talented team like the Titans, a Titan team that everybody, most people are picking to go to the Super Bowl. So, I mean, Ryan Tannehill is a favorite in this game. Could you imagine that?
Yeah.
It's not Lamar Jackson. Come on. I mean,
yeah, really.
Who would have thought it was Ryan Tannehill being the guy, the aggressor, the quarterback that is the favorite of coming out of this game?
Remember, we both said in the offseason how badly he got overpaid, but he hasn't shown that so far.
I would have never thought this.
Yeah.
I would have never thought this. But that's why it's so fun to watch this year. And I think anybody that is not going to have their eyes locked to the NFL playoffs is blind. I think this is going to be fun. I think it's going to be very exciting to see what's going to happen with some of these teams, because I'm going to tell you right now, I wouldn't be surprised if a team that we wouldn't expect to go to the Super Bowl this year. I could see it.
Yeah, I could see the winner of that Ravens-Titans game making noise after that.
How about the Colts? If they knock off the Buffalo Bills, where everybody thinks, and Josh Allen is still not a proven, this is his second year, his chance to win in the playoffs, he might be another guy that can't win the big game.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to tell only with a one-game sample size with the Bills. The one thing that concerns me with the Colts matchup-wise is their strength is mostly in the middle of the field, and if Allen gets outside, I think that's going to be a very tough matchup for the Colts. And also the Colts offense has had their woes this year too. Jonathan Taylor's been phenomenal, but outside of that, they really haven't had much consistency with that. And Tre'Davious White on T.Y. Hilton is a tough matchup for Indy, and they don't really have much receivers beyond that. So that's a little concerning.
I do think that looking at this game, I think the Colts could be the surprise of the weekend. I said that. I think the Colts could win this game. I think the Colts will have the lead in this game late in the game. The question is Buffalo going to be the team that we've seen all season long, the Stephon Diggs, that's changed the thought of what Josh Allen is as a quarterback? Some people say is a MVP candidate of what he's done in the second half of the season. He's been absolutely sensational ever since his grandmother died. But again, I still value, even though Phillip Rivers is not a playoff quarterback and hasn't proved that he's a playoff quarterback, I'd be scared of going into this game knowing that the Indianapolis Colts, with the talent that they have on the defensive side of the ball and one of the best defenses in the league, can shut down and squeeze Josh Allen into the middle of the pocket, could win this game.
Yeah, that's going to be a heck of a game plan that Matt Eberflus is going to have to come up for, because like I said, the matchup, the way their talent is structured is more towards stopping middle of the field type teams. Like they did well against the Ravens, even though I think they lost the game. I think they did well against that kind of offense. Even a team like the Browns are good over the middle of the field, using their tight ends, using their run backs. That's the kind of team I see the Colts matching up better against. It's just the outside attack concerns me a little more. So they're going to have to do a lot with the game planning with their DBs, a lot of different coverage schemes. Darius Leonard especially is going to have to be big in this game.
He's the best player on the field.
Yeah.
He's the best player on the field.
But they can't have him rush the passer like they've had him do sometimes too. They really have to maybe have him bracket coverage as well, maybe against Stephon Diggs as well, helping out with double teams, and even maybe taking away tight ends too and pass catching running backs.
Besides Josh Allen, Darius Leonard is the best player on the field. I want to hear Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs has had a good season. He's been sensational, one of the best wide receivers, what he's proven this year to be in the league. But the best player on the field is Darius Leonard. He has got to be the best player on the league. He's the captain. He's the best defensive player on the field. You need him to make plays in the open field, and that's the way they're going to be Josh Allen. And Josh Allen forces the ball in serious, crazy windows. We've seen him do it before. And if you could force him to do those and make those mistakes and put himself in a fumbling position, which he's been doing, not in the second half of the season, but in the first half of the season, you saw what he did against the Jets. How many times did he fumble the ball? They shouldn't have won that game. I mean, honestly, they shouldn't have. Right. But again, the Jets screwed up again. New York Jets football, the screwiest football you ever watch on professional TV. Okay, so there you go, New York Jets football. But let's get off the Jets. I'm done with them. But all in all, and the Browns, the Browns. This is a good chance. They completely match up well against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They really, really do. I think they're the better team. I really do. They have the better running game, and they have the better defense.
I'm going to say this, too. I think with the way their offense is built, I actually think they have the best chance of anybody to knock out the Chiefs because of the middle of the field. If the Chiefs have one weakness, it's been their linebackers, and outside of Honey Badger, their safety play.
I don't trust Baker Mayfield.
Okay, that's fair. But I'm saying if they show up, because we don't know what kind of playoff quarterback Baker is yet, because he hasn't been there yet. Negative inexperience is not necessarily negative experience. But the way their team is structured in the coaching and even the pass rush, too, with Myles Garrett and Olivier Vernon, how good they've been this year, getting Denzel Ward back, I think that's the best chance of anybody matchup-wise to knock out the Chiefs.
And by the way, why would the NFL for NBC at 8:15 on Saturday night have the Buccaneers and the Washington football team? Are you kidding me?
Tom Brady infatuation. Simple as that.
What is that? I mean, Tom Brady on a Saturday night where everybody's going to be watching on a Saturday night, a cold Saturday night, that's what people are going to watch? I mean, that's ridiculous. And this is like a hand-me-down for Tom Brady. This is pathetic. Yeah. Tom Brady has to play the Washington football team in the first round. Well, it all falls. I think the Giants would have fit better in this game. I think it would have been more fun because I think the Giants could have beaten them. I have no confidence that the Washington football team is going to knock off the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I would have none. If it was a regular game, like a 1:00 game, I would have given them a chance with their defense. But the Washington football team is not very experienced in prime time. I know the NFC East gets more primetime games than they should, and that's been a complaint for a lot of fans for a while, but that really does not help them. When they're scheduling these games, they have to keep in mind what kind of teams they have. And they did the same thing with Cleveland, too. Now, granted, Cleveland's gotten more primetime games this year, and they've played all right in some of them, but they also lost to the Ravens, and they had some trouble last year as well. So that's a big disservice as well, I think, where you're giving the Steelers, who are almost always in primetime, a huge advantage as well. I would have liked to see more like a Rams and Seahawks put that in primetime. And maybe the Colts and the Bills, who are both kind of similarly inexperienced.
When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we will be talking to owner of Forever Blue Shirts. And I'm going to pronounce this right, and only because I love the guy, Anthony Scultore, here on Below the Mic.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor, and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit him online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
Be fearless at MMA Long Island and Setuha Karate. Located at 28 Colt Court in Ronkonkoma, MMA Long Island is the martial arts school for you if you want to learn combat-proven techniques, build confidence, discipline, and self-esteem while learning real martial arts to fight back against bullies, predators, and peer pressure. MMA Long Island offers group and private lessons for all ages and levels in traditional Goju-Ryu Karate, MMA, and self-defense. MMA Long Island is one of Long Island's most affordable martial arts schools. There are no no promotion, belt, or membership fees, and family discounts are available. All classes are taught by 7th degree black belt Sensei John Benedict with over 30 years teaching experience. So whether you want to get in the ring or protect yourself and your family, MMA Long Island can help you reach your goals. Visit MMALongIsland.com. That's MMALongIsland.com or call or text 516-381-9660. That's 516-381-9660.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, it's Below the Mic. I'm your host, the great and powerful world of Errol, and the boring style of Speedy Petey, the very boring style of Speedy Petey. Remember, you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Download our app on iOS, WWSRN, and Android Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Call us at 631-965-4990. Yes, 90, Speedy. Yes, I'm helping you out. So, yes, we had a lot of football today. We talked to Treylan. Shout out to Treylan Davis for joining us, the Virginia superstar tight end, and hopefully get an opportunity to watch him play great football and go to the NFL and maybe win a national title with West Virginia. Who knows? I mean, they've been known to be a good football team, more known for their basketball, right? That's for sure. But
Bob Huggins just got his 300th career win.
Well, I'm not surprised. Yeah. But we're going to talk some hockey conversation. Yes. And why not with a New York Ranger guy?
Yep.
We are now talking to owner of Forever Blue Shirts and the Daily Goal Horn, Anthony Scultore. What's going on, my friend?
Hello, boys. What's going on?
I'm good, man. I'm sure I was listening to your little conversation with my producer when I was working on some stuff for next week's shows. And
that's eavesdropping.
Yeah, well, what can I say? I'm an Islander, I'm an Islander fan, and we like to eavesdrop a little bit, but that's why we have Lou Lamoriello and Mr. Barry Trotz running the show over there, and you've got the old John Davidson and, the Quinn boy, or whatever the hell you want to call him. A lot of Ranger fans don't like him. I still like Quinn. I think he's still going to be a good coach in the NHL. I just don't know if he's going to be with the New York Rangers. I do believe that eventually they will part ways. So how are you? How are you and your family doing right now with the COVID-19 situation?
Living the dream, man. Everything is fine. Everything is good. Everyone is healthy. Thank God. Staying safe and getting through this thing just like everybody else.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about your company, Forever Blue Shirts? Obviously, blue shirts mean Ranger jerseys means Ranger fans. So tell us a little bit about your. And by the way, I'm just messing with you. You
better mess with me. Honestly, if you're an Islander fan, I'm literally burning fish sticks in the background right now. So go ahead.
Man, I like fish sticks. I love fish sticks. So.
Do you like them burnt?
You get absolutely
you get burnt on the opening night. I'll tell you that.
Oh, just give me some tartar sauce. Don't worry, because the New York Rangers aren't going too far either, my friend. So especially in that division they set up with this 56-game season, I think it's torment for the Rangers and the Islanders. That's for sure. But how did you create Forever Blue Shirts?
So foreverblueshirts.com and thedailygoalhorn.com. So I've been a passionate hockey fan for a long time. I can't skate worth a lick, but it's just, I fell in love with the game. I laid eyes on it and I just was mesmerized. I mean, nothing compared to it. Grew up a baseball fan, watching the Yankees and football to a degree, sure. But once I saw the sport and I saw these guys flying on knives, on their feet and just what they could do, nonstop action, fell in love. Basically, at some point, there was something I needed to be creative. I needed to get it out. I love talking hockey. I love talking about the Rangers. And I saw, and again, this is back in 2013 when I started the company. I just saw Twitter taking off. I'm like, oh, this is a great, resource for information. I still think it is when used properly. I think Twitter can be a great tool. Especially to get information, talk sports, get an opinion out there and discuss with fans. It's a great way to connect. But it's through that I started realizing, I was like, maybe people actually want to hear what I have to say. And then I needed to do a little bit more. And I saw what other guys were doing with, at the time, they calling them blogs. And I don't like being pigeonholed as a blog because it makes it difficult if people are looking at you that way to get, guests and trying to get your foot in the door, talking to agents and everything else. So I've been trying to keep it very professional. I try to help kids. I think that's a big thing. There's so many young people out there that don't know how to get started in the business. They want to intern. They just want to write. And they want to be able to publish. And I'm glad to say that over the last 7+ years, I've certainly helped a lot of young people specifically get published and put that on their resume. And some of them have gone on to get jobs. I mean, I got one person that's a producer at NHL Network. Somebody else was working for the NHL at one point in time. Somebody's working for a team. It's just been a great experience. It's been pretty rewarding. So it's been satisfying that need to be creative, but doing it with something that I'm passionate about, which is hockey.
By the way, one of our other personalities, Josh, who's also a Ranger fan, was saying you are a great guy. Both his websites are phenomenal, and best site for Rangers news is Forever Blue Shirts. So
thank you.
Giving you some compliments. So I told you this when enough.
Kiss it.
I told you this when we were setting up. I was going to ask this first. All that memorabilia in the back. Go through some of those experiences, some of those picture frames. Are they autographed? Anything like that?
They're all autographed.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, they're all autographed. Listen. I'm in my 40s, guys. So I've been collecting for quite a long time.
I'm 38, so I'm right there, man.
You're 38? You're 38 going on like 15. I've been listening to the show. I'm surprised Pete hasn't punched you in the throat.
Pete can punch me all he wants, man. I was a hockey player too. I was a top hockey player too. And I was the rough bruiser on the ice myself. So let me tell you something. Speedy will have have my foot in his ass before he can spit another shine. Or spit another two. So there you go.
I think I caught a nerve, Pete.
No nerves. There's no nerves here. I have my own personality. I like to have fun. Speedy knows. That's what I do. I like to entertain people. But yeah, I mean, seriously, I enjoy hockey. I enjoy hockey news, and I love reading hockey. It doesn't matter if it's about the Rangers, it's about the Islanders, it's about the Calgary Flames. I love hockey. I grew up a hockey player. I lived, slept hockey for almost 15 years of my life. So I know what it is and what it takes to be where you want to be. Just a bad knee. I couldn't get over the hump because of it, unfortunately. And to this day, it still bothers me to this day. But I'm here, and I like to enjoy what we do here with the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. And I'm happy to interview you, even though you're a Ranger fan. I mean, that's not saying much for me. But I will ask you, you're an older guy. And so am I. Growing up, I grew up a Ranger fan, believe it or not. I grew up a Ranger fan until the age of 11. And the Rangers in 1993 had to decide who they were going to keep, John Van Beesbroek or Mike Richter. And they decided to part ways with the older goaltender. And they traded Van Beesbroek to Vancouver. And it just so happens Vancouver decided they wanted to keep. They had a choice between Kurt McLean and John Van Beesbroek. The biggest mistake I think that organization made was they kept Kurt McLean and they decided to part ways with John Van Beesbroek. Van Beesbroek went to the Florida Panthers. We all know what he did with the Florida Panthers, the unbelievable career that he had with the Florida Panthers. And Kirk McLean played the Rangers in the Stanley Cup Finals. Could you have imagined if Van Beesbroek stayed with Vancouver? And I spoke about this, I think, with you, Speedy. Was it with you?
You and Tolek as well.
Yes.
We had Tolek on.
What would have it been if John Van Beesbroek was the goaltender to face Mike Richter in the Stanley Cup Finals? Would that have made a difference for the Stanley Cup champions in 1994? What do you think?
It's hard to tell, considering that Kirk McLean stole game one to just make that one of them becoming a series. Yeah, I think it's an interesting look. Here's another thing. You want to play the what ifs. Well, what if there isn't an expansion draft and you don't have the Florida Panthers coming in and the Rangers aren't forced to try and figure out which goaltender to expose and move or do all this stuff, and Van Beesbroek is still part of the team? Do the Rangers even win the Cup having a two-headed goalie monster of that kind of magnitude? Because Van Beesbroek was a hell of a goalie. And, to me, when you get to the playoffs, you better ride the hot hand, and you need to, like, when they lose a game and they lose 2, you still have to stay with them. That's the only way to win a series. You can't hope that the goalie you're going to put in is going to catch, fire all of a sudden and win you a series. I mean, yeah, could it happen? But, sir, there's a lot of what ifs. I think it's a great storyline. I mean, the Rangers, unfortunately, had that kind of bite in the butt in 2014 when Marian Gaborik did them in.
Yep.
In LA, so that kind of hurt too. So you never know. It makes for great storylines, and it's all part of the what ifs of sports, right? So it's the beauty of it. It's why we like to talk about it.
No, absolutely, and that changed my whole future with the New York Rangers, because as soon as they traded Van Beesbrook and they made that crummy excuse on the way they kind of put it to the paper, because I still thought Van Beesbrook was the better goalie. They decided to go with the younger Philadelphia kid and Mike Richter. I was pissed off, and then I decided to flee the New York Rangers, went to the Florida Panthers, and eventually stopped with the Islanders. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to be an Islander fan. They were so bad, and I don't know why I picked the Islanders, but I've been an Islander fan ever since, and I'm very excited. We'll hope Barzal gets that contract before the season starts, but
that'll get done.
I'm excited for the season with the young talent defensive players that they have. So I'm very excited about that. But
the Rangers made the right choice, bud. They won the cup with Richter.
And they didn't win anything after that. And they win anything after that. I think they could have won with Van Beesbrook and maybe won another cup, because I think as it went further, and Richter was the 96 starting goaltender for the World Cup, if you remember that. I do remember that.
He was the MVP.
And Van Beesbrook was the backup. Van Beesbrook was backing him up. And they put Richter there because of what he did in the Stanley Cup in 94. And Van Beesbrook, 96 is the one that Van Beesbrook took the Florida Panthers all the way to the Stanley Cup against the Colorado Avalanche. One of the greatest goaltending performances we've ever seen from a goaltender to go all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals with that team, that Florida Panther expansion team.
I think the Colorado Avalanche won that series in 5, though, right?
4.
Was it 4?
4. They swept.
Wow, see, Van Beesbrook's goaltending was so good, I thought he won a game.
No. Well, he took them all the way to 3 overtimes, and Huey Krupp scored a touchdown. Scored a goal at the point, and it was a fluky goal. But he had like 60 some odd saves in that game. To Patrick Waugh's 52. I think he outplayed Patrick Waugh in that series. It's just the Colorado Avalanche is one of
a better team.
One of the greatest teams we have ever seen.
They're a great team.
Absolutely. So my question for you, this offseason, them winning their first number 1 pick in almost,
1965.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. And they get Lafreniere. Do you have, before the draft happened, did you ever think that the Rangers needed defense, maybe trading down, still getting a good player, maybe, they did get the defenseman that they moved up on New Jersey, which everybody was taking a brick or whatever the heck they were doing. I'm not going to mention what the Jersey fans were saying about the Rangers after that. But they got the defensive player that fell to them. But were you surprised that the Rangers didn't, with all the offensive players that they had, were you surprised that the Rangers didn't decide to trade down and maybe get a top-end defensive player?
Nope. 0. Zilch. You are talking about a generational talent in Lafreniere. This kid is super special. This kid is a winger that can dominate the ice and control the game like your top centers, just like Panarin can do. Now you're also going to get that out of Lafreniere. This kid is legitimately a generational talent. He's got captain written all over him. He is a hard-nosed player. I think what people don't know about him, they think first-round pick that this guy is going to, he's a goal scorer, he's a point getter. That is true. But this kid is super fast. He shoots off the bench like a rocket and goes to like a dog on a bone to the puck. He's the type of player that makes everyone around him better. And without a doubt, he's got a mean streak in him. So if people are going to take runs at him, prepare to get elbowed. Prepare for high stickings. He's going to take those penalties. He has no problem doing it. And he knows that as a superstar, guys are going to come after him. And he doesn't want to wind up like Sidney Crosby. And by the way, Sidney Crosby had his moments where he was pretty damn dirty. Let's not forget, Sidney Crosby once slashed somebody's hand and took off a pinky.
Yeah, I remember it. I'm not a big Sid the Kid fan. I actually played against Sidney Crosby when he was 12 years old. So I know a little bit about Sidney Crosby. So I have my own stories that, but I will say this. I do think that you're blowing Lafreniere a little bit out of proportion. I mean, some people even came out and said people were trying to compare his skills to Sidney Crosby. And he said, ho. I am not Sidney Crosby, nor am I anywhere close to him. I hope to be something like him in the future, which is something that I'm happy that he said. I mean, that was a very professional way of saying it. But I think a lot of Ranger fans, they blow a little, they blow him a little bit out of proportion. I think he's going to be a good player, but let's see. I mean, last year's second pick, the second pick in the first round, and we all know who we're talking about. Everybody saw it. Everybody said, oh, he was going to be fantastic. He's going to score 30 goals. He barely got 20. So, I mean, that's something that you have to look at. And you got to, with being that he's a young player, you expect him to be a good, be a highly performance type of player, but we don't know what he's going to be. So we'll see.
Oh, that goes without saying. I mean, Jack Hughes was also talked about for years and turned out to be not much to write home about, right? So you can never really tell. But I'm telling you that I'm not blowing it out of proportion. I didn't compare it to Sidney Crosby. I said Sidney Crosby was a mean player, right? I didn't compare him to I didn't compare him to Connor McDavid. I didn't do any of those things. I said he's a left wing that can control the game like a center. I said he's a generational talent. This is not my words. These are also words of some of the top leading, experts and analysts out there.
Those guys, they're all idiots.
You can say whatever you want.
I met them all.
When he lights up the aisles.
You
tell him, Anthony.
First of all, why are we bringing up the Islanders? I haven't even mentioned the Islanders except once. And I said Matthew Barzal still hasn't signed. All of a sudden, you're taking shots at the Islanders. All I'm telling you is what I'm saying. And of course, a Ranger fan wants to attack the Islanders. This has nothing to do with it. I'm just speaking out of my own perception of the New York Rangers. But I don't hate them. Well, I do, but that's just me.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I do. But
go ahead. That's good. That's what it's about.
So we've actually argued about this a lot. Jacob Trouba, he thinks the Rangers overpaid for him.
Oh, yes, they did.
And he's not a top 10 or top 15 defenseman. And
not at all.
He was one of the few defensemen in the NHL that had 100 hits, 100 blocks this year, and still has had a productive, not great, but productive offensive season this past season. So what was your perception on the contract of Trouba, and how much more could he grow? He's 25 years old. How much more upside could you see him having with this Rangers defense?
Yeah, I find it funny that we're talking about a 25-year-old defenseman like, oh my God, what a mistake. You got to understand the business of hockey.
I do.
Right? The business of hockey is right-handed defensemen are a bit of a commodity. And the Rangers were completely lacking one. And they got him for a song as far as I'm concerned. They got him for a steal. Is the contract high? Sure, it is at the moment. I can certainly see why people would say that. He struggled to adjust, coming here. But as the season went on, you started to see the game that he had in Winnipeg. And I think this is going to be a very telling year. And I think he's going to shut up a lot of the critics, whoever they are. And I think he's going to lead that defense. I think D'Angelo is going to play on the left side. I think they're going to test that out. And I think that should work. And if D'Angelo is allowed to go up there and do the offensive things and Trouba can be that kind of stay home guy, and does, the smart plays on the blue line in the offensive zone and uses that big, powerful shot of his. And I think D'Angelo could set him up when they gain control in the zone. I think he's going to be very good. Is he a big point scoring defenseman? No, I think the Rangers are looking at him to be that defensive shutdown guy, the guy you rely on to face the Ovechkins and the Crosbys when you're in the division, and to do the best you can to shut them down. I also think they want him to be physical and take more of a leadership role, and I think he's got to be able to do that. I think he can. So my thought process is it's way too early to be saying, oh, they messed that one up. I'm not that kind of fan.
Well, I understand that, but we can look at percentages in some of the top hockey players that have played against him this year, especially against Trouba, and he is a -12 on the ice against some of the top hockey players in the NHL. So when you look at those numbers, those aren't good numbers. So I look at who you're playing against. You're gonna put them against your top players, the top players in the NHL, and you have a negative 12 against some of the top players in the NHL. That's not good. Okay, so that's just me. I'm looking at what Trouba is. Now, I'm not saying anything bad about what I think about the Rangers defense, because I think the problem with the New York Rangers, and it's been the problem for the New York Rangers for the last couple of years, really for the last 7 years, is their defense. They have a bunch of old, now they're younger defensively, but now all the Ranger fans are talking about DeAndre Miller and all these different guys they're bringing up. Meanwhile, some people are setting the DeAndre Miller back. They say that he should be held back another 1 year or 2 years because of his, the fact of the speed of the game and the way the game is. And also, I've also read that the Ranger fans have come out and said over the last couple of years that the Rangers defense haven't been that bad. Meanwhile, last year, when they went into the playoffs, and I want to hear about the COVID-19 and listen to all the Ranger fans saying, if there wasn't COVID-19, the Rangers would have went out and made a run for the play, went to the Stanley Cup.
Who the hell are you talking to?
Oh, dude.
I mean, are the Ranger fans you talking to 8 years old?
Oh, absolutely, man. You got to listen to some of these. I'm not saying you.
I mean, are you kicking it at the playground and saying, let's talk hockey? Who are you talking to?
Oh, man. I'm all over the place. I talk.
Get off Twitter.
I don't go. Believe it or not, I've got over 1,400 people that follow me, and I am never on Twitter. It's so funny. It is funny. It is funny. I got to start going on Twitter because that's what you're supposed to do. You know, you say your stupid things, and people can take their licks at you. But whatever the case is, that's the way it is. But I think Ranger fans are a little overboard. What do you think this offseason? The Rangers, there was really no acquisitions defensively. Do you think JD made a mistake?
Oh, not at all. I mean, the bottom line is that they walked away with the number one pick in the draft and an awesome looking defenseman in Braden Schneider, who they traded up to acquire. And they really couldn't do anything else. I think there's a salary cap in hockey. And the easy answer is there were cap issues. First off, the Rangers have $12 million in dead cap space this season, especially after they bought out Lundqvist. They had bought out Shattenkirk. They're still paying for Dan Girardi's buyout. So there's $12 million in dead cap space. Next year, it's going to drop to only $4 million. So they're going to gain $8 million just like that, which means the Rangers are going to be in prime position to bring in probably a superstar. Not to mention that they're going to also lose Brendan Smith's $4 million. They're going to lose Jack Johnson's $1 million. So now I've just told you they're going to have, looks like it's going to be about $13-14 million to play with. Okay. There's people that they have to sign, but they're all RFAs and they're all going to be cost controlled. But the reason why they didn't do anything is because you're bringing in Lafreniere. He's going to play. He's going to get an ELC, right? That's $925,000 max. But with the bonuses, he's close to $3 million. So you got to be prepared that he could hit those bonuses, and you got to pay that out. They had RFAs to sign in D'Angelo. They had RFAs to sign in Strome, Brendan Lemieux, and Georgiev. All of them had arbitration rights, so they were going to have to get more money than your bare minimums like they got the last time. So when you start adding that up, and you start also looking at how young the Rangers are and how loaded they are with guys like Shesterkin, who's on an ELC, Kakko, who's on an ELC. Possibly they might put Keandre Miller on the team this year. That's a very likely possibility.
Probably.
Adam Fox gets performance bonuses. All these guys get performance bonuses. So you have to have a cap cushion. You can go over the cap by about $6 million in performance bonuses, but with the number they have, they're going to go $4 million. They could go $4 million over possibly. So it's all cap related. So keep your eye on the Rangers. I've spoken to a few people, got good information from within that basically this is the year they're going to see what they have in the kids, and come deadline, depending on where they are in the standings, but definitely in the offseason, with knowing what's coming off the books, prepare for them to take some of these prospects. Not all these guys in the pipeline are going to be able to play on the Rangers. It's impossible. It's impossible. You got Nick Lundqvist out in Sweden. He's coming at some point. You got Keandre Miller on defense. You have this kid, Matthew Robertson. You've got Zach Jones on defense. You've got Braden Schneider, who I just mentioned. These guys are they coming in? Who are they moving out? And if they're not going to be able to make those guys, you have to turn those assets into things you need, like a legitimate number 2 center possibly, or just a top line center. Or how about bringing in a Patrick Laine? Why is that out of the question? It's not. Imagine Patrick Laine and Capo Caco as your 2 wingers on the right side with Panarin and Lafreniere. You find the center in there, you've got a Stanley Cup top 6.
Well,
so I'm just telling you why they didn't go out crazy this past summer.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. And I know a lot of Ranger fans are going to love what you say. And I know Ranger fans are probably riding the bike and not backwards, and they think they're moving forwards. But again, I think you have to look at going into this season. You have to worry about where this defense is. I as a Ranger fan should be worrying about that. And I don't care what anybody says. They have the goaltending. We all know what they got. They have 2 good goaltenders. They've proven that they're good. And Shesterkin, this kid he's going to be a special player. But the Rangers have had a special goaltender for years, Henrik Lundqvist. By the way, shout out to Henrik Lundqvist. I said this on Monday. Hopefully everything is well with him and his family with the open heart surgery. I'm not a big Ranger fan. Everybody knows that, but I don't wish hurt from anybody. I think Henrik Lundqvist is one of the greatest goaltenders of our era, and he will be missed. I don't know if he'll ever play again. I don't know. I know he says that he wants to, but something like this might hold him back. I really, this is an old goaltender,
Yeah, I think, first off, I agree with you. Those words, they're perfect. You get well. It would be very difficult for him to come back from. I really don't know if a team would even take a chance. I mean, the guy just had open heart surgery, right? Or is about to have it. I haven't heard anything. Obviously, it's something that he should do well with, and hopefully everything turns out okay. So I agree with you. And the Rangers don't have a goaltending issue.
No,
and
not at all.
They're top heavy. We'll be honest, they're top heavy on the top 6. The third line is questionable, even with Lafreniere being put there to start. We don't know where that's going to end up. But the defense is an issue, and that's absolutely their top 4 is solid. Okay, if D'Angelo can make the adjustment, and there's no reason why he can't. He played 3 years on the offside when he was in the OHL, and for an offensive defenseman to have your stick in the middle of the ice is a plus. Okay. And he said he's no fear, no concern about going on his backhand to keep the puck in on that side. So that's fine. The bottom pair is scary. Does it make sense to put Keandre Miller there? Who's going to play on the right side? You're going to now take Brendan Smith and put him on the right side of the third pair. There really is nobody there, but Brendan Smith is probably the best option to do it since he did it before and he's a veteran. And Brendan Smith, as much as people are probably thinking they don't want him on the team, they would be wrong. There's no way Quinn's not going to put him on the team. And the reason why I'm going to tell you is very simple. Just look at what he did last year. He could play 4th line wing and he could play defense. And if you could have that in your lineup with young kids and you put in a Keandre Miller and he's not having a good night and you don't want the kid to suffer all night, you don't want to go down to 5, you take that guy, you drop him down, you roll those 2 forwards with other lines to give people a break. It works out beautifully.
It's very interesting.
All right. I know you were waiting for this for a while. So moving on to just the league as a whole, this upcoming season starts in a week. One team that was very good that you expect to drop off next year, and a sleeper team that you think maybe was at the bottom of the standings, missed the bubble this year, that could be a playoff team and a dangerous team.
All right. So I'll start off with the team that I think, and again, I could be a homer. I could say the Rangers, because that was the qualifying rounds and they lost. They weren't really in the playoffs, right? But I'm not. I think there's a team out west with the way everything is set up with the realignment. I think the San Jose Sharks, they looking at that team, they just fell apart. And you go, how does a team with Brent Burns, Erik Karlsson, Timo Meier, and they've got good players, Thomas Hertl. I totally can see them making the playoffs, especially the way that that West division is weak. I think they could be one of the top 4. There's my sleeper. Now, if I have to pick, and I can't wait for Errol to enjoy this one, but if I do have to pick one team that had a very good season last year and not make it, I would say it's the Islanders, right? They went to the conference finals. I think they did so mostly. First off, they play a great team game. You cannot take away what Barry Trotz has done and the fact that they all buy in and play a system. That's huge. And in a tournament like the Stanley Cup Finals, you have all your players bought in and putting in 110%, and you could do things. They just eventually played a much better hockey team in the Tampa Bay Lightning, who won the cup. And so simple as that. I think it's the Islanders for a multitude of reasons. First off, the Mass Mutual East Division, which I just died at the fact that we have division sponsors. So everyone who thought it was going to stop at helmet decals, you can kiss that goodbye. This is gonna stay. I don't care if they say it's for 1 year. Once you get a taste of the honey, the bear comes back. Anyway, the bottom line is, I think it's the Islanders. I know Barzal's going to sign, so that's not an issue. I do think Varlamov played way over his head. It would be a lot to ask Ilya Sorokin to come in and become the number one goaltender and having to make an adjustment at the same time. I mean, even Shesterkin played in the AHL a little bit. The good thing for them to know is that in the KHL, Sorokin played in arenas that were NHL regulation size. They were 200 by 85. They weren't all Olympic size ice that he was playing on. So that shouldn't be too big of an adjustment. But still, that's a big move. But I do see the Islanders being the team that maybe doesn't make it just because of the way this division is set up. With adding you take out the Canes, that's one thing. You add the Sabres. The Sabres are improved. But, you put in the Boston Bruins. You put in the Bruins, you've got the Capitals, and you got the Flyers. 4 teams make it. That's it. 4 teams make it in the division. I just told you 3 that are going to make it, period. Then they're going to have to duke it out with the Penguins, okay? And they're going to have to duke it out with the Rangers. If we're being fair, they're going to have to duke it out with them. The only 2 teams that I don't think have a shot are the Devils and the Sabres, right? They're going to beat up on them, but these are rivalry games, so they're not going to be easy games, especially with the Devils. So I think the Islanders don't make it. I think the Islanders will be the outside looking in. Are they the 5th seed, in the division? That's it. They're out. Do the Rangers have enough offense and goaltending to overcome their defensive issues? It's a 56-game schedule, and the Rangers are the youngest team in the league. That's going to play. So they could do it. Are we going to discount the Penguins? I can't do it.
I don't trust the Penguins anymore. I don't think they're a good team.
I don't either. But if Crosby and Malkin are healthy, they're dangerous. Now, if one of those 2 guys gets hurt for an extended period of time, like they do every year, then the Rangers and Islanders is going to duke it out for that 4th spot.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. I disagree. I think the Rangers are more looking, they're even though they didn't make the playoffs, if that's what you want to say. I think the Rangers are the team out of the. I do believe it's between the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Rangers, and the Islanders for that last spot. But I also can't count that Washington going into the season, they lost Henrik Lundqvist. Holtby's no longer there. I mean, who's their starter? Samsonov. And I'll tell you this right now, Samsonov has not proven to be the goaltender that everybody thought he was going to be. So every time he played, he's been iffy in the game. He has not been the goaltender, and he was not going to be the starter this year if the season were to start and Henrik Lundqvist was healthy. He wasn't. So I don't trust the kid. I don't. I think there's a better chance of maybe Pittsburgh Rangers, Pittsburgh Islanders making the playoffs, or maybe the Rangers and the Islanders in Pittsburgh and Washington getting knocked out. That's what That's what I believe.
I look at that Caps team, and you don't need great goaltending to get into the playoffs.
I'm
not saying they're going to win the cup. I'm not saying the Caps are a cup contender, but making the playoffs in a 56-game schedule with Alex Ovechkin on your side, and that defense still has John Carlson on it. They added Chara.
They're an old team.
They are an old team, but have you ever seen Alex Ovechkin hurt? I haven't.
No, not him, but everybody else I have.
We'll see. We'll see. I think they get in. The Flyers, to me, are the best team in the division right now.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
Boston doesn't have Pasternak for a while. That's going to hurt, and that's why I think Philadelphia takes the division.
That's interesting.
That's interesting because they tend to be a very streaky team year to year. They peaked a lot last year, but they tend to be very on and off. But they finally have the goaltending, so it's definitely possible with that.
All right. Well,
Vigneault.
What happened?
Yeah, Vigneault. He's a great regular season coach.
Well, that's about it. I mean,
Thank you.
I mean, when you hear Vigneault, that's about it. I mean, when you hear that name, it's just destruction.
Did you guys see that magic moment? A Ranger fan set it up, and an Islander fan spiked it. It was beautiful.
This magic moment. Oh man. Anyways, my friend, why don't you tell the fans how they can find you, Anthony?
You can read my work at foreverblueshirts.com, at thedailygoalhorn.com. You can follow me on Twitter at the number 4everblueshirts and at Daily Goalhorn. So that's it. And this was a good time, guys. I'm surprised I didn't get to ask questions like, Pete, if you could get a hold of Errol with his hands tied behind his back in the dark, what would you do to him?
Well, before he does that, my knee would be in his ass. Oh, man. But you want to know something? We really appreciate you joining us. We'd love to get you on again. We'd love to have some fun and get you on. And we love – this was a great interview. We had a lot of fun. We talked a little too much about the Rangers. But all in all, you're a Ranger guy. So it's okay. I don't hate talking about the Rangers because there's a lot to talk about hockey. I think that's a problem with New York sports. I don't think people really give New York hockey enough credit for what it is. And New York hockey has been great. Say whatever you want. The Islanders and the Rangers for the last 4 years have been as good as any team in hockey. I really do believe that. The Islanders, who went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, had a chance to go to the Stanley Cup. And I believe that if they went to the Stanley Cup, would have won the Stanley Cup against Dallas. I'm sorry. The Dallas Stars. And I was very
surprised. See it.
Yeah.
I agree. Listen, I agree with you. I'm not going to crush the Islanders. I mean, I'm having some fun with you. I mean, you guys are going to have Barzal. I mean, that's happening. Unfortunately, it's not going to be the long-term deal. That's the only problem. So I don't know what'll come out of it, but he should be signed before this camp is up. He's going to sign for 2 or 3 years, maybe $6-7 million. And just does that leave a sour taste in his mouth? I know right now Lamoriello is working the trade phones. I mean, they're already coming out today. He's trying to get rid of Lee Komarov. He's trying desperately for a long time, right? He needs to get cap compliant, and he needs to get Barzal in. So I wouldn't be surprised that Barzal misses camp, the entire camp, and they get to day one when they can put Boychuk on long-term IR and take that savings and sign Barzal. I don't think you have to worry about Barzal missing camp.
No, and I'm not really worried about Barzal. Even if they sign him to a short deal, he'll get a long-term deal in 2 or 3 years. The Islanders will give him what he wants, and he'll be happy with it. I think all in all, they're trying to make him happy, but it's very hard when you're under this salary cap situation with Andrew Ladd. Andrew Ladd has screwed the Islanders. That has screwed everything for the Islanders. And now Lamoriello has to work his magic, hopefully getting Andrew Ladd off the salary cap maybe next year, get rid of his contract and pick up another contract or something like that. That's what the Islanders are going to need to do to move forward with them. They couldn't. It really sucks that Mike Hoffman didn't go to the Islanders. I think it would have been a great fit for him. It would have been a great fit for the Islanders, and he went to St. Louis. I hope he made the right choice. As good as St. Louis has been the last couple of years, and I like Craig Berube. He's a nice guy. I met him a couple of times. Very, very nice guy. I was there at the Stanley Cup Finals. There's just something about that team. I don't know. After winning the Stanley Cup, their goaltending was fantastic in the Stanley. He looked terrible last year. So
yeah, he didn't look good.
No.
And the Islanders were in on Hoffman, but just listen, they're in cap hell, man. Mm-hmm. It's as simple as that. I don't understand how Lamoriello wins GM of the year with his team in cap hell.
Well, you want to know something? Next year, they're not going to be in cap hell. Let's hope. And they figure things out. And I think they will. I think if there's anybody to trust, Lou Lamoriello, look, since Lou Lamoriello's been there and Barry Trotz has been there, they got into the playoffs the first year. And then they went all the way to the Eastern Conference Championship. Now they have now the only way up, the way up now is going to the Stanley Cup and finishing the deal. And I do believe Lou will figure it out. This guy has been a born winner. He's one of the best GMs in professional sports, and he's been successful everywhere he's gone. So
I agree. The key is the building in the new arena in Belmont. Mm-hmm. If that is as a big and a great thing, it'll only help them attract people to sign, which has always been a problem for the Islanders to try and lure in those big free agents. But if they've got a steady home and they've got a really state-of-the-art arena, yeah, man, the Islanders could certainly make some noise, and maybe the Rangers and Islanders are, rocking this new Mass Mutual division for years to come.
Well, I'll tell you this. I'm looking forward to Dobson this year. I'm looking forward to some of the young defensemen. I was upset that they lost a big key defenseman in the offseason, but I understand why they did it, and they still gained a second-round draft pick for him. So you got a guy at fourth round. He has been a second-line type of defenseman. You're going to get a second-line type of defenseman next year in the second round to fill in that spot that they lost. So I do believe that Lou is trying to figure out ways where it makes it more enticing to come here in the future. They're as far as defense and goaltending, I think that the Islanders are set. I really do believe it. I think they're set. It's the offense. They need to find another offensive option to help out Barzal. I think when they do that, the Islanders are going to be very, very fun to watch, just like all the other teams we've been talking about.
I agree with you, man. Look at that. Agreement. Another magic moment.
Oh, this magic moment.
It took only 40 minutes, so we finally got there.
Anyway, Ant, thank you for joining us. We'll definitely get you on again. We really appreciate you joining us.
All right. Looking forward to it, boys. This is fun. Thank you.
Absolutely. We were just talking to the owner of Forever Blue Shirts, Anthony Scultore. Torre. I like that. Hooray! He's awesome. I don't care if he's a Ranger guy. He's awesome. Gave you good information about the Rangers. Very confident. A lot of people know his writings, his stories, and he's got a great product. And we're happy to have him. A fan of the show, Anthony. You definitely got to follow our app. Speedy will send it to you. We want you to follow our app. Tell your fans to follow our app. We really appreciate every single thing. Hockey is so important to New York sports. I think people forget that. I really do. Hockey really generates the fan base. Everybody keeps talking about all the other sports, the Yankees, the Mets, and everybody. Hockey is Madison Square. What is more fun to watch when the Islanders and the Rangers play? Okay? Nothing. The Islanders and the Ranger fans absolutely hate each other. So it's fun. I don't like going to Madison Square Garden because of that.
Yeah, we know.
I don't want to get myself arrested, okay? Let's just be honest here. I'm trying to keep myself safe and not into trouble.
Hopefully next time you go to a hockey game, you'll actually be able to find your car.
Well, thanks to the Beeve and getting us lost at the Nassau Coliseum. The Nassau Coliseum. I mean, the small Nassau Coliseum, we couldn't find our car for about almost 40 minutes. It was terrible. I was freezing my butt off. I wasn't wearing a jacket. What a terrible move by me, by the way.
Oh, well, now you'll learn to start dressing warmer, even though you like the
Beeve. I better
like the cold weather.
With the Beeve, I better. And the New York Knicks coming home. I mean, this is a the homestand for the New York Knicks. I keep saying New York Rangers. New York Knicks.
Yeah, they play in the same place.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to watching the Knicks play at home. I know there's nobody going to be out there in the audience, but this young team, and quickly, Obi Toppin should be back in the next couple of days, I heard. So that's exciting news. And Julius Randle, slowly but surely, is becoming a player.
Yeah, I think this year, when you look at just judging stats, he's probably been a top 20 performance player in the league this year.
Fantastic.
He's been very impressive.
Fantastic. Anyways, before we go, I want to thank Treylan Davis for joining us, the West Virginia tight end recruit. Nice kid. Great interview. If you guys missed it, definitely check it out. Guy has such a good personality and gave you some good answers. Gave us some good questions, too. I love that. And also the owner of Forever Blue Shirts and the Daily Goal Horn, Anthony Scultore. Okay, so Torre. All right. So thank you for joining us and giving your insight with the New York Rangers and your thoughts in hockey. You were great. We really appreciate you joining us and giving all the insight of everything that's going on in the NHL. Speedy, do you have anything to say before we go?
Yeah, two definitely very fun interviews. Shout out as well to Devontae Smith for winning the Heisman, first receiver since Desmond Howard in 1991. I didn't see it coming. It seems to be a quarterback award now, but I thought he deserved it. And shout out to him for winning the Heisman. And yeah, great job by the New York Knicks. They played very well too, like you said.
Stephen A. Smith loves it.
Yeah,
loves it. And Max Kellerman saying, "So Max Kellerman, listen to Max Kellerman." biggest idiot of them all. So, anyways,
Kyrie Irving must have.
Maybe
Kyrie Irving
maybe
paid
started
him
a
in his flat Earth bank accounts.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, maybe they're starting a trend together. Maybe flat Earth rules. How's that sound? All right, so let's talk to Kyrie on that one. Anyways, that's it for our show, ladies and gentlemen. We will be back. The Weekend Crunch will be here this weekend. Me, Joshua Silverberg, yes, the great and powerful pain in the butt, Joshua Silverberg, and Mr. Speedy Petey doing our show on 103.9. Definitely check us out on the LI News Radio network. If you can't get us, if you're not here on Long Island, you can check out by checking them out by looking up LI News Radio and following the show at 7 p.m. on Saturday night. That's it. So long, farewell, and we will talk to you next week. Good night, everybody.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall